commission to order for Thursday, December 19th. Roll call, please.
Mark?
Here.
James?
Here.
Brett? Tate?
Here.
Eric?
Here.
Dan? George?
Here.
Barry?
Here.
Sherelle? Here.
We do have a quorum. We'll proceed. I would ask that we could make one change to the agenda and take item number 3 and move that to number 1. And just obviously work its way down, but put them first. They don't need to sit here for the balance of this meeting. They certainly can if they'd like, but are you guys comfortable with that? Can I get a motion to that effect?
Motion to move, please.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. You've got the disposition of the minutes from the 21st, November 21st meeting. What are the wishes?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Tate,
Okay.
can I request something?
Yes,
Since I don't normally do minutes for you guys, can you say who is saying it? Because I'm looking down and I don't always see who's making that
You
motion
bet.
and seconding it.
you bet. You want us to do it again? Or
If you could just let me know who
Who
made
made the
that last
motion?
motion.
James? Yep. And then,
I did the last one.
you're good? Okay, we've got several public hearings tonight, so if you wish to speak, you're more than welcome to come up and speak, state your name, where you live, and go from there. We'll try to keep it under somewhat control and be diplomatic. I'm not gonna sit here and let you guys rebuttal each other and argue amongst each other. You can take that outside. We're here to do business and do it the right way. So again, it may not go your way, it may go your way. I don't know, but we'll let the marbles fall where they may. So with that being said, the first one is for Travis and Laney Lingenfelter for a variance for a setback. This one's in Muddy Valley subdivision in Stony Creek Township. Ms. Michelle.
Okay, so this one is LU-0088-24, which is Travis and Laney Lingenfelter, who are requesting a variance for the setback requirements within the urban residential zoning district. They are located in Lot 4 of Block 3 of Muddy Valley subdivision, which is Section 5, Township 154 North, Range 100 West, being Stony Creek Township. We have not received any comment back from Stony Creek Township on the application. They are requesting a setback variance from the setback requirements within that urban residential zoning district for the front setback. Within the urban residential zoning district, the front building setback is 50 feet. The applicant is requesting a reduction to 27 feet from the required 50. This request is in conjunction with a building permit for the construction of a 24 by 36 pole barn for storage. This request does not qualify for the county administrative variance process, as a setback reduction is greater than the allowable 25% reduction with that process. Access to the subject property is off of 53T Way Northwest.
Thank you, Ms. Michelle. Any questions for Michelle? If not, this is a public hearing. Any public input? Any public input? Last time, any public input? Yep, come on up, sir.
Hi there. So I'm Travis Lingenfelter. I'm owner of the property. I just wanted to explain a little bit more in detail about why we're asking for the variance. So the properties out there had been resurveyed a few years back, and we found out here during this process that that had not been recorded with the county yet, but Ed from 49th Latitude had done their resurvey, and the property line is actually moved further to the south. So where we're actually gonna be based on that survey is 44 feet from the property line versus the 27 feet that's currently recorded with the county. So the reason we had this resurveyed, there's been some issues out there in that subdivision from development. We've been kind of working our way through it, but I just want to at least bring that up, that the actual property line per the survey, which hasn't been recorded yet, is gonna be 47 feet setback, not 27 feet. That's currently recorded.
Okay, thank you. And yes, this was a mess of a subdivision originally, and there's been lots of lot line adjustments, so
We've been
you're not the
working
only
through it.
one.
So, okay.
Well, thank you. Okay, last time, anybody else wish to speak? Close the hearing. What are the wishes of the board?
Make a motion to approve to his 40, you say 44 or 47?
7.
We technically have to go off of the 27 feet because that is what is on record as of today. So it would be from 50 feet down to 27 feet.
So if we approve it at 27, he can move it to 27? Even
We have to go by what's on record. We can't, and until they record that survey, we don't, it's not legal until it's recorded.
Come on up. It's okay. We'll figure it out.
So the other pickle that we're in that subdivision, is where the house is sitting. On the west side is the septic with the drain field, so we can't do anything over on that side. And then to the north and northeast, because of the issues with that subdivision from development, we have drainage issues. So in the spring, we get our own little waterfront property that everything flows down through there. So I can't put a structure there with the drainage issues that are in that subdivision. So the high ground that we have is gonna be in line with the house in the same angle that the house is sitting. And we're doing that to make it aesthetically pleasing from the highway, or from the 53 T-way. So it's gonna be in line with the house, and it's up on high ground where we're not gonna be affected by the drainage issues. And we will be set back, and I understand the 27 feet that we're kind of in that box right now. But in reality, on the true property line, we will be 47 feet. And there's no reason for us to, if you approve it, for us to move it to 27 feet, because it's not gonna look aesthetically pleasing. Where I wanna have it is it's gonna look from the highway, everything's in line, and it'll be proportionate, and that's at the 47 feet. Thank you.
So where is Miss Karen when we need her?
On her way to Bismarck.
Great.
Everybody leaves Thursdays.
So,
He's not gonna be up.
so wait, let's hold up here. We do have a motion to the 47. If,
When do you think it'll be
hold your
registered?
motion.
When do you,
I haven't, like, we haven't been approached about a survey coming through. Like, the first I heard about a survey coming through is when Travis brought it up to us that it's been resurveyed. I still haven't heard or seen anything. Yeah.
So let's go this route. Can we have a motion to approve it with the 47 feet. Could it be subject to the approval of the plat being recorded of the new survey? That way they can keep things going, so they don't have to start all over again? Does that make
Then how
sense?
about if I change my motion to,
Well,
just postpone it for now? If he records it, he's not gonna build it this month. We could approve it next month if it gets recorded.
they've already, he's been,
Well, my point is we could approve it subject to the plat or the new survey being recorded. That way it's done. Once that's recorded, this should fall right into the motion and then we're done.
From what I understand, go ahead.
I'm Lainey Lingenfelter. I just wanted to come up too because I think it's going to be a long time before the plat gets approved. It's been 3 years. Anyway, so the holdup was everyone in our whole subdivision approved signing off on where the pins currently are, which is not what's marked on that. So if you see that blue line, that looks like it goes into our neighbor's yard. Like, that's not where the pins are. So, like, that what's up there doesn't represent where the pins are. The pins are at the edge of our tree row further
On the north end.
further south. Yes. So, like, this doesn't match the pins, but the new plat that 49th Latitude did never got submitted because not every single person in our neighborhood signed off on it. And the one family that was the holdup has moved. However, I don't know, there's been several other homes that have changed ownership in the meantime. So my thought is he might have to go back out and get everyone's, I don't know the process because we're the ones who lost the most property with just accepting it as is and not pushing, and like we lost 0.2 acres, but we just wanted to be done with it and just, this is our land, we're happy with it, and so we signed off on it, but it never got filed because not everyone in the subdivision was okay with it.
And that came to our attention during this process. And the trouble is we never anticipated an issue because we figured based on property lines, we were far enough back. So, I mean, we've got a lot of money in trusses and lumber and stuff that's been sitting out there since November, that we're now held up on, because we were going off the fact that our true property line was, you know, where 49th Latitude is. So I guess in summary, what we're asking for then, based on what's recorded with the county, is, I guess we're asking for a bit more of a.
We're
for the
asking for
27
the approval
feet,
of the 27 feet, so we can start.
so we can do it. We'd be at 47.
Right, and then they're already probably built by that point.
So
Yeah,
then we can just stick to the
hopefully.
27 feet.
Because
Yeah.
you're
That-
basically going to go where your RV is at, roughly in that area,
Right next to
just
it.
right next to it,
Yep.
to the
Yep, like
east.
where that parking pad is, like it's like a little narrow walkway between the little parking pad that's a retaining wall. Yep, we'd be right next to that.
And it would be at the same angle as the house, so it's aesthetically pleasing when you drive by.
That's simple. Then I guess, okay. You want to make a motion then?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff comment then.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
No more discussion, right? Right. Roll call, please.
Who was the second?
George did. Sorry about that.
Sorry, we should put our hand up or something. Or just say our name in front of it.
Say the name.
Yeah.
George?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Sherelle?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're back on LU 0086-24.
I need a new
Digital Valley for a CUP to operate a cryptocurrency data mining within the heavy zoning industrial district without Dry Fork Township. Matt, I forget this, Mike. Miss Michelle.
Okay, so this one is LU-0086-24, which is Enter4 Digital Valley LLC. They're requesting a conditional use permit to construct and operate a cryptocurrency data mining facility within the heavy industrial zoning district. This is located in Sublot 2 and Sublot 3 in Section 4 of Township 155 North, Range 95 West, which is Dry Fork Township. Dry Fork Township has recommended denial because of the strong opposition from residents within the township. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit, which includes a variance from the 1 mile setback requirements to construct and operate a 30 megawatt cryptocurrency data mining facility within the heavy industrial zoning district. The site will consist of a 66 by 322 foot building to house the servers. One transformer located around the perimeter, or excuse me, I believe it's 10 transformers, located around the perimeter of the building, and one electrical vault. The site will have security fencing around it as well. According to the applicant, this will be a state-of-the-art facility and use specific building designs to maximize efficiency. The applicant has a current signed power agreement with Montreal Williams Electric Cooperative to receive up to 30 megawatts of power. This is also considered an interruptible load. There are sensitive properties within the 1 mile setback. However, in September of 2024, they appealed with the Board of County Commission to be allowed to apply for the conditional use permit. Access to the subject property is off of 60th Street Northwest.
You're good? All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Michelle at this time?
So how far off are they on the 1 mile?
I believe the closest one is approximately 0.88 miles. So just under a mile, I believe, is the closest one.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for it this time? Okay, if not, I am gonna open up the hearing. Yep, come on up. And then Cameron, are there people on the phone?
Yes, so there are a number of callers. They are muted. Our system will not let them unmute, so if they'd like to speak, they need to unmute on their end. So they should be able to hear me say that.
Okay, so if you guys wish to speak, you're more than welcome to. Just unmute it, and you'll obviously have to state your name, and we'll kind of go from there. But first, we have Mr. Gary.
Yep, my name is Gary Emeneth. I'm with NR4 Digital, and I thank you for the opportunity to present today. We have a number of members from our team going to present. We'll try to be respectful of time limits for all of you being here this evening. We're going to have Dewey Bailey will be part of the presentation from Williston here. He's doing work with us, speak to the construction of it. We have Harvey Fitzgerald from Interstate Engineering, who's laid it out. We also have Jeff Kowalski, who came in from Denver with Wave Engineering. So as we lay out, we got about 15 slides. We'll go quickly. We won't get you lost in the details, but we do feel we need to give a fair representation of what we've done. And I will say, in fairness, it's on me. We never met with the township. We probably should have started there and helped educate them on what we've doing. We did talk to some of the landowners previously, and I'll walk through some of that in the slides. So if we're good, and I'm from Bismarck, North Dakota. Our office and headquarters in Bismarck, all right? So I'll get going with this slide. I'll get the first slide up. So this is really what the picture to the right is what it's going to look like inside the data center. So our computers are on either side, left and the right. There's a hallway down the middle. You can see it's open. Of course, it'll be sealed at the top. It looks like it's open there. But when we go through the design, we'll be talking about why, and we can take into consideration the noise level. So that's why we have Wave Engineering in here. I think a lot of the challenges what's happened in Williston, obviously with Atlas and the size of that. Just to give you perspective, ours is one building, about 1/8 in size of power of what's here in Williston. So just to give you perspective, it's about 1/8 the size. If we could go to the next slide, please. This gives you a feel of where the property's at. You'll notice I have the blue box is our location that we've acquired land. We have 4 pictures numbered 1 through 4 on the right. The location of the other properties, you can see it's a heavy industrial area. There's a number of locations to the north. If you look to the top of the bar there, there's a number of other industrial locations. We just wanted to point out those that are right next to us. Number 4 is where the substation is that we would be getting power from Montreal Williams for. So it's a heavy industrial area. Part of the reason we chose this area is there's power there. Montreal Williams has available for us to tap into. And I'll walk into a number of reasons why we've chosen this area. But it is heavy industrial, it's low population, and the contours of the land we'll talk about. But there's other properties that are heavy industrial if you've not been out to the site. If you look to the top of the slide deck there, you'll see a number of tank batteries on the left and to the top and to the side. So, okay, next slide, please. This is the same image. The circle is 1 mile approximately. The box in the center is our location. So if you look at the number of properties that are of concern that would be residential, there's one on the far, it's to my right. It's on that side of the slide deck. That gentleman has a stated position opposed to it as far as I understand. The other property is to the left of the, and we've got a signature from that property owner approving us and saying it's okay for us to build a property. So the 2 residents within the 1 mile radius, and you can see that circle is about 1 mile. Our box is in the center. That is the location of where our data center will be. Questions? Next slide, please. Part of the reason on the bottom right of this slide, why are we doing this? Why is Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin? It's really a way of, a lot of people use the digital currency, and I can answer some questions if you want to get into Bitcoin about it, but it's really a bunch of computers running in this building. But why this location? And why are people, I have pictures in there of a number of people that were at the North Dakota Petroleum Council. There's talk of wanting to do between 5,000 and 10,000 megawatts of power, between 5 and 10,000 megawatts of power. We're at 30 megawatts of power. The North Dakota, because of the abundance of energy, see this as being a big area of interest for the state long-term. With data centers, there's a large one in Ellendale, a large one in Jamestown, multiple billions of dollars invested. Those are 200 to 400 megawatts. Ours is 30. I believe the one Atlas is around 250. Ours, once again, is 30. Why are people wanting to do it here? Number one, there's an abundance of power because of the fossil fuels and the coal and the gas and the oil. So that's one of the reasons. The other one is because there's a surplus of gas long-term, that gas is going to be an opportunity to do more data mining. We have to use the gas or we're going to have to curtail fossil fuel. So that's one of the other reasons is we believe that long-term, there'll be the using of gas that'll help with the opportunity with it. Third reason I have there is temperature. We do some data centers down in Dallas. In the summer, it's brutal. It's very difficult to keep the miners running using the ambient temperature from outside. And so because of the cold weather like today, we could be using that to cool the building. So temperature is very important. So not only is the source of power and the opportunity of power, but it's the temperature that helps in North Dakota. And that's why there's high interest of coming to North Dakota. You use that to help cool the computers. Fourth location is because it's heavy industrial. It's industrial area, it's low population, so we looked at this location. We think it's one of the best locations in Williams County. If you decide you don't want any, that'd be fine, but if you're gonna look at probably the best location in Williams County to do one, I think this is a great location. I recognize that we have to maybe do some selling on the township to understand it, but maybe I should have, had a meeting with them in more detail and gone through it, so hopefully some of the members of the township will be here and see kind of what we're presenting in this case. And the idea that North Dakota wants to proceed with some of the development, so it's not just dependent only on energy, in other words, oil and gas. Next slide, please. I'm going to ask Dewey Bailey to come up. Interfor is the company that I'm representing. Fredericks Custom Solutions, Jesse Fredericks is on the call. He might weigh in on it, but Dewey Bailey, I'd like to call on Dewey Bailey to come up. Dewey is from Williston, I'll let him talk about who he is. He's driving the construction of the whole side of the project, so.
Good evening. I'm Dewey Bailey. I live here in Williston. I spent 12 years with Caterpillar here in Williston, running the power group for Bakken and Montana. And about a year and a half ago, I retired and I started a consulting business. So that's how I got engaged with this project. One of the things that I appreciate about working with Interfor is they're very concerned about working with the local companies. Can I have you go down about 3 slides? These kind of got out of order. One more. Yeah, right. One more. Right here. Here's the local solution providers that have engaged for this project. Fredericks Custom Solutions. Jesse's actually on the phone. Jesse, I don't know if you want to talk about your company and what you do. We have engaged Fredericks Custom Solutions to be the general contractor on this project. And so, Jesse, maybe you can speak.
Sure, yeah. Can you guys hear me?
You were pretty muffled there.
Can you guys hear me? Here? Is that any better?
Much better.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Dewey. My name is Jesse Fredericks. I'm the president of Fredericks Custom Solutions. We are a construction and gas capture company here based in Mandaree, North Dakota, a little bit east of Williston. And our focus is focusing on the underutilization of potential energy sources in North Dakota. it has been obvious to us over the past couple of years that one of the solutions to our flaring issue here in the state and our resource underutilization is these potential data centers, both Bitcoin, AI, some other high power computing solutions. We're entering here into the fourth industrial revolution, and I think data centers are the potential backbone of not only North Dakota but the United States, leading the push here for solutions to pushing forward in the fourth industrial revolution. And I think with North Dakota, with our abundance of energy and some of the opportunities we have here, this type of project can solve multiple problems that we're facing here, not only in the oil field, but potential for, I think everyone probably has a smartphone in their pocket right now. And data centers are, again, the backbone of how all of our technologies work. And I think North Dakota can be, not only North Dakota, but Western North Dakota, specifically Williams County, Montrose County, McKenzie County, some of the areas that we're in right now, can lead the way as far as, the development of holistic, synergetic solutions that can utilize some of the flare gas that we're seeing wasted, and also push forward as far as developing the data centers side by side next to the oil field and some of the wasted resources we see. And so Frederick's Custom Solutions, along with Ener4 and our partners that you guys see on the slide, are looking to combine all these different avenues here to not only build out an economic base here in Western North Dakota, but utilize the resources that we have. And I think that's ultimately our goal, is to put all this together and hopefully build out the economic base in North Dakota and utilize some of these wasted resources.
Thanks, Jesse. Some of the other local solution providers, we have engaged Interstate Engineering, and Harvey will be speaking here in a little bit, for the civil design of our project. And we've also engaged AH Electric. AH Electric is out of Killdeer, North Dakota, to do the electrical work on the facility. AE2S Engineering is doing the electrical engineering on the project. AE2S has got an office here in Williston and a composite office in Fargo. And then Ridgel Global will be our building supplier. Can you go back a couple slides now? Sorry about that. Right here, right here. The project overview, it's a 30 megawatt facility. It's out in that area that Gary just talked about. It's off of the highway or the roadway that runs next to the data center.
On screen, it didn't go anywhere. I'm just listening. It's just not loud.
Excuse me, could you mute, if people that are on the phone, would you please mute your phone? Thank you.
So there's a substation right across the road, like Gary had referred to, and it's about a 14-acre site. Next slide. This is the development plan that we have, and so I'm going to turn it over to Harvey Fitzgerald of Interstate Engineering. Harvey's the engineer that's designed the actual site grading plan for us for the project.
Good evening. My name is Harvey Fitzgerald with Interstate Engineering, right here in Williston, and we're assisting Ener4 with the civil site design here. So in this middle photo on the slides is the proposed building. We'll be regrading mostly the eastern half of the site. Based on the existing topography, it breaks a little bit to the north and south, with the north half draining generally to the west, and then the south half draining to the southeast. So we're planning to have 2 stormwater ponds capturing all the excess runoff that comes from developing the site. Currently it's gravel scoria surfaced with a lot of weeds. So the final surface will be a class 5 kind of road-based material, shown in the brown. And then the area shown in the gray would be kind of reusing some of that existing scoria gravel for surfacing. Based on the overhead power lines that bisect the site at an angle, we've paralleled the building to those overhead power lines just to provide enough clearance and setback from all the easements in that area, and helps with kind of limiting the amount of excess earthwork on the site. And I can turn it back over to Dewey or Gary unless there's any other questions on the civil site.
Any questions for the moment? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harvey. Next slide. This is the actual building design of, one of the things that we researched is how to mitigate noise. Obviously, we were very mindful of what's happening here in Williston. And so we searched and found a building design, and this is kind of targeted after design we saw in Texas. If you see those racks in red that are outlined there, that's the actual miners. That's where the computers will be. And if you look on both sides, there's about 20 foot to the wall. There's 20-foot walk space between that. All those fans and the miners are in the inside of that lane. It's called the hot lane, and they exhaust to the inside and upward up to through the roof. The roof is open right there, and it exhausts out to the top. This mitigates a lot of sound that's generated from the miners. And so that's the building that was chosen, and that's the reason why that hot lane mitigates not only heat, but also sound. One thing that Jesse made a trip down to Texas, and so I don't know if he has any comment about this, but there's a...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Sure, yeah. So to Dewey's point, before FCS took this project on with Enter4, we really wanted to do our due diligence. Obviously, there's been quite a few conversations in the last couple of years about the pros and the cons of data centers. I know that some of the cons have been based around noise pollution and part of integration into the community. And so one of the main drivers for me to decide whether we wanted to be involved in a project like this was how it would be integrated into the community and how the noise pollution specifically would be approached. And one of the things about our building design and what we settled on is it's very focused on limiting the noise pollution for the surrounding community, not only for the humans, but also animals. We have a very large ranching and farming community here in Western North Dakota, as we're all aware. And we wanted to really make sure that the diligence was being done as far as limiting the noise pollution. And to Dewey's point, we see a lot of data center, specifically Bitcoin data center designs, exhausting outward, external, where a lot of that noise is coming off of the backside of the miner, where the fans and the computer chips and hash boards themselves are creating a lot of noise. And the design change that we really focused in on here is, rather than exhausting externally, we intake air, where typically the exhaust would be a lot of the noise is pushed into this hot aisle, like Dewey referred to, and then the exhaust goes up and out the middle of the building. And this, just from a basic physics standpoint, a lot of that, the majority of the noise is then pushed inward towards the interior of the building, where it is much easier mitigated as far as knocking down some of that decibel level as it reaches the outlet. And I think that's one of the main design focuses of our building, is to, again, exhaust, to point the exhaust internal to reduce some of that noise pollution. And by the time we get outside the building, a large percentage of that decibel limit has been removed on the interior of the building, rather than the external ejection towards you know, the surrounding community. And that's been one of the main drivers in our project.
Thanks, Jesse. Another thing that we did, we had a sound study company, Wave Engineering, come and do a sound study on this facility. They also went to Texas and observed this specific building design. And so we have Jeff Coolidge here tonight from Wave Engineering to speak to the sound.
I have a question
Go
for
ahead.
you, sir.
Dewey?
We're hearing a lot about the exhaust. What about the intake? Are you using fans on the outside walls to suck it in, or?
I don't believe so. Jesse, maybe you can respond to that. I don't believe so.
Yeah, yeah, we are not using intake fans. One, because of the noise. You know, two, to Dewey's earlier point, our climate is very conducive here to this type of data center. We're not battling 110-degree ambient air temps. You know, every single one of these servers, these miners, these computers, has two fans on them, an intake fan and an exhaust fan. And so we just let the suction of the mining computers themselves pull the air through the intake. We don't need extra fans that would create extra noise. These fans, these miner racks are offset 20 plus feet from the exterior wall, where we also have filtration, you know, paper filters as well as fiber filters that also act as a noise, a sound mitigation barrier. And so, no, we do not have any extra intake fans besides the small 6-inch by 6-inch fans on the mining computers themselves.
If you just say it into the mic,
Okay.
'cause I'm not running it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought you were.
No, you're
Hi,
good.
I'm Jeff Kolkowski with Wave Engineering. We're an independent acoustic consulting firm in Littleton, Colorado, just on the south side of Denver. We're independent consultants, so we don't sell or install any products. We're strictly doing the consulting and engineering and analysis. Personally, I'm the senior acoustical engineer and president of the company. Been doing this type of work for over 30 years. We were engaged by Interfor to do a study of the noise from this facility. So as part of that study, we did several things. You've heard we went to Texas and we measured noise levels around a similar facility. We went out to the proposed site. We measured the baseline ambient noise levels on and at several locations around that site. Then we used a computer model to predict noise levels from the proposed facility, and then we had compared those to some references. So if we could go down to several slides to there's some labeled sound study. If we could start with the next one, that one, yes, thank you. The ambient measurement results of the table at the top right of the slide. And so we measured for 24 hours continuously on the site itself where we had access. And this, you have our full report in your packet, but I just wanted to hit some of the high points. So it's just, the LEQ in that table is essentially the average level. So in that area, it ranged from 38 to 51 dBA, and we'll kind of talk in a minute about what does that mean, those levels. Not all of us are familiar with what the numbers mean. And then we went around, drove around and just took some quick 15-minute measurements near some of the closest residents, the closest homes, and we show those levels. Averages, a couple of them were in the 50s and one down as low as 37 dBA. And then in that next column where it says L sub 90, that's kind of not the minimum level, but that's kind of the close to the lowest sound level we measure. That's when there's no cars passing, no farm equipment running nearby. It's kind of close near the the quietest that it gets in an area. So you can see those levels are generally in the low 30s. One as low as 28 dBA. So those are the existing ambient levels in the area. We went to a facility near Austin, Texas, and we took measurements in and around that building, which is similar to what is being proposed for this project. You can see just touch on a couple of the numbers. The top of that second table where it has numbers like 95 and 98, that's inside the building. That's kind of in that center area that Dewey was pointing out. So that's where the loudest, that's on the discharge of all those individual computer fans, right in the center, inside the building. Pretty high noise levels of 95 to 98 dBA. But outside the building, on the sides, you can see there's the loudest section was around 83 dBA, but mostly around the building, you get down into the 60s and 70s, anywhere from 58, 6 feet from one side, and then 65, 50 feet from another side. So that gives us a good idea of what we have on the different sides of the building. And then we can also project what we have coming out the top from what we measured inside. Well, what do we do with those numbers? If we could now, well, I guess the map you see on that same slide shows the project area and then some distances and what are called receiver points. That's some specific points where we want to point out sound levels that they would be projected to. If we could go back one slide or up one slide. So what do we do with those sound levels we measured in Texas? Well, that gives us a good idea of what these computers, how much noise they're making. We know how many computers were in this building we measured in Texas. We know how many computers were proposed in our facility. So we built a three-dimensional computer model of the building, and we import all the imagery that you see on this map, the satellite imagery. We import the topography, the terrain. So we have a 3D computer model of the building, the openings in the building for intake and exhaust, how the noise is getting out. We know how loud those are now because we measured similar facilities. Now we use the computer model, which just uses established formulas and calculations per international standards to project the noise levels out away as it gets away from the facility. That takes into account distance. The sound levels dissipate and get lower as you move further away. It takes into account the terrain. So the terrain out there is kind of a rolling hills. So when the hills kind of, as far as the terrain goes, if you're standing somewhere and you can see the building, the terrain isn't doing too much for you. It's not increasing or decreasing the sound level. But if the terrain, if you're on the other side of a hill and you can't see the facility, it's blocking your line of sight, then that terrain is going to reduce the sound levels some for you. It also takes into account the atmosphere, so temperature, humidity, wind direction. Now, what we assume in our model is that everywhere around the site is downwind. Of course, that can't happen in reality, but that's kind of an assumption we use to kind of get closer to a worst-case scenario. The other thing that has is temperature inversions, where that can increase sound levels under those conditions. So we assume that. So taking all that into account, this chart you're looking at now shows the results of those projections. So we've called out the sound levels at several specific points, but also if you look at the colors overlaid on the satellite image, you can see, for example, the yellow hatched area on the legend is 46 to 50 dBA. So on the outside edge of that, down around 46, 50 dBA. A-weighted decibels is dBA. Inside area, that edge of that is about 50 dBA, and so forth with the different colors. We also marked kind of 3 discrete points at the closest homes. One to the west, 36 dBA.
one to the east 35, and then down to the southeast is 34. Now you see the one point that's marked 53 dBA. That's not a home, but that is the closest point, kind of a boundary of one of those agricultural properties from the southeast. The boundary kind of comes up to that. That's the closest it gets to the facility, but there's not a home there. So that one's a little louder because it's closer. So what do those numbers mean? 34, 35. The county does not have, a noise statute that says, it gives an allowable limit. That's not unusual. A lot of counties don't have those kind of limits. Just for your reference, it's different because I'm talking into a microphone, but if you were standing 3 feet away from me, the sound of my voice right now would be about 62 to 65 dBA. A common noise, a lot of towns and larger towns and even some counties might have a sound level limit. It's a really common one for a residential area is 50 dBA at night and 55 dBA during the day. A lot of them differentiate and allow a little bit louder during the day. And then as you get into commercial and industrial areas, the numbers usually go up. So they'll allow it to be louder in those type areas. But for residential, 50 and 55 is pretty common nighttime and daytime that you can transmit to a residential property. Sometimes if you have a particularly annoying sound, you might, sometimes a municipality might impose an additional 5 decibel kind of penalty, if you will. So maybe as low as 45 dBA. But that's really about as low as you see it as far as code limits. And those limits don't mean, if you have a limit of 50 and you have a noise of 49, of course, that doesn't mean everybody's happy. It doesn't mean that a resident is not going to complain about that noise. It's just those are established to kind of come up with reasonable, balanced criteria for the communities. So you can see that the levels that we're projecting out at the 3 closest homes are all 34, 35, and 36. So those are well below even the 45 dBA that I quoted you as being a pretty stringent residential type criteria. Just as a reference, a difference of 10 dBA or decibels, most people perceive that as about half as loud. A difference of 1 or 2 decibels, most people can't tell the difference. You get in the range of 5 or 6, that's clearly noticeable to people. So just subjectively, that's kind of the range of what those differences mean. 10 is about half as loud. So we're, in most cases, about, half as loud is the most stringent criteria or, code limits you'll see, across the country. Let's see. I think that kind of is a summary of what's in our report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Is there such a thing as air density? I mean, is the air the same here as you're testing down in Texas?
There certainly is a air density that can influence the way sound transmits. So that'll be influenced mainly by temperature, humidity, and atmospheric conditions. You get a cool night, air is a little denser, so forth. So sound can transmit easier or further under certain conditions where the air might be denser. Those kind of effects generally come into play once you get a little further distances, like over 300 feet. So in the measurements in Texas, we're measuring really close to the source of the noise. So those kinds of things don't come into play too much. They would come into play, when we're talking about a distance of a half mile or a mile or something like that. So that's when I explain those international standards we follow kind of tell us what conditions to model to, so they're kind of closer to more of a worst case or what they call favorable to sound propagating those conditions. So we're trying to account for all those things.
So I guess I was getting, like in the wintertime, is this going to be louder than in the summertime because of the cold and the bitter cold of the air and stuff?
A lot of times it can be a little bit louder in the winter. than the summer, but generally the things that influence that, that have a greater effect than that are an inversion, where it, normally the air gets cooler as you get up, you move up away from the ground. Under certain conditions, the reverse can occur, and that causes sound to kind of refract downward rather than upward into the atmosphere. So that generally can occur on cooler nights. Well, it's difficult to predict. But again, our predictions are kind of assuming that that's occurring. So when it's not occurring, it's generally going to be quieter.
One last question, just a normal automobile idling out on the street. What's the decibel on something like that?
Is it a diesel truck or?
No, just a gas car.
Yeah.
To put something into perspective, so you know what.
Sure.
I know what a car sounds like. I can you put a decibel on that.
Right.
Get an idea where I'm at.
Oh, a car idling, a normal car idling is probably around 65 to 70 decibels. If you're, a normal passenger car is passing by on the street, it might be, pretty close to you. It might be 70 to 75.
Thank you.
And Mark, just for the rest of the guys, I got a decimal meter on my phone here, and since he's been speaking, it's been bouncing between 50 and 70, just right here on that desk, so. Is there a difference on the frequency? I've heard like these smaller fans, they run at a frequency compared to like the HVACs on the roofs of buildings. They have it's a bigger fan, a bigger motor, but the frequency is evidently the big thing.
Yeah, these, they call them miners, or these computers we're talking about, have a couple of very small kind of computer type fans on them. So they're small fans, they spin at a high speed, so they tend to be a higher frequency sound, kind of a higher pitched sound. So that, when you're up close to them, it can be pretty annoying sound. I mean, the different models vary a little bit. Some of them are, they're generally described as kind of a whine. Whereas a big mechanical fan, larger equipment, tends to be a lower frequency sound, more like a rumbly sound. The good news is that the higher pitched sounds, they kind of tend to be easier to mitigate and control, let's say with the building, whereas the lower frequency sounds are much harder to block and mitigate. The lower frequency sound travels further and is harder to mitigate and absorb.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. Next slide, please. Oh, one more. So here's a slide that obviously, the facility here in Williston has got a lot of attention. And here is a slide that shows the distance of comparison of our project and Williston. The closest home is, and the one we have the consent agreement with, is 0.84 tenths of a mile away, or about a little over 8 tenths of a mile away. The longer one on the east side there is about 0.91, I believe. On the right side of the slide is the Williston facility, and you see there's like there's some homes that are like 250 feet away, and some that are 1,000 foot away. So all those arrows on the right slide are way less distance than any of ours on our facility. I mean, Interfor's taken a lot of attention because we know that's a concern, the sound noise. And so that's why we had Jeff came, and that's why I wanted to show you this slide. There's a big difference as far as distance between the two facilities. With that, I'll turn it back over to Gary. Is there any questions first?
Any questions for Dewey yet? I'm sure there will be. Thank you.
Thanks.
Couple things that I would just point out related to wanting to bring all the professionals in is, like in the case of Jeff, he's a third party. Part of your proposal is that we need to bring a study in, and that's what we've done. He's a third party. We just paid him to do his job. And so that's what our goal is. And when you look at this slide here, you notice on the Williston how many buildings are sitting there. We're talking one building. Their fans and everything's right up against it. They're blowing out. We're 20 feet away from the wall, and we're sending the sound up. And so it's a totally different design. We spent a lot of time. It wasn't initially our design. It's just that we said we got to find a way to mitigate the noise. That's the biggest concern that everybody has. And if we put up a building out there and you really don't know we're there, what difference does it make? It's an industrial park. So that's what our goal has been, is how do we mitigate the sound? And when you go to 34, 35 decibel, that's what we wanted to try to identify. If we can go to the next slide, I just want to touch on a couple benefits before we start answering questions. I won't get lost in it. We think we're going to create about 40 construction jobs. I mean, obviously, you guys have more jobs than you have people out here, so that's probably not as big a deal. But we do believe that we're going to be into 20 to 30 people, technicians, that would be working. It'd be a totally different work, working inside in an environment. We look at this being a much different type of work than the oil field, so we believe that'll create some opportunities. Obviously, we're putting up a big building. There's local property taxes that go a part of the program. If you go to the next slide, I just want to address some of the benefits. One of the things, we have Montreal Williams here. They're not a partner in the project. They're just a provider of power. And we've asked them to be here. Just after there were questions about the thing that I would want to make the point is about curtailment of load. There's been a lot of concern. What about brownouts? What about my power going to be? Well, we have an agreement that we signed that we can power down. That's one of the great things about Bitcoin. If you have a data center that's an artificial intelligence, they call them AI data centers, they have to run 24/7. You don't want your phone to be off in the middle when you need it. The Pentagon's got to run 24/7. We have a proposal that we have to power down. They'll give us a notice, say, hey, there's power surge that's coming on, you got to power down. That's part of our contract with them. And so that helps alleviate some of the stress. Part of the reason we've asked somebody to be here from Montreal Williams, if you have questions related to it, you could let them address it rather than us speak on their behalf. But they're just a power supplier that we would buy power from. And so we have this curtailable load. And it's a much different when we can have a real-time response. We'll have a data center that'll be monitoring those computers. When they say, hey, you got to be down in the next 10 minutes, that's our job to bring them on down. If they don't, they can just shut the switch off and take us down. So that's really the idea of what we're trying to do, is we believe that moves towards helping stabilize the grid to help take some of the spikes up and down. And that's why we're working at other projects around the country. We're looking at projects in South Dakota related to the same type of thing. Next slide. I just would make a point that we're going to try to be involved in the community. We know we're close to Tioga and Ray. We're going to want to be getting talent locally, and we're going to be offering scholarships and to do a number of things to help local communities support the project, because we need to have talented young people and older people for that matter want to do something different, be involved with it. So we'll make an investment locally to the community. With that wraps up our discussion, and we're open to questions. Obviously, there's people here that want to probably be speaking out against it, but any questions related to our team while we're here that we could try to answer?
Go ahead, Barry. Go ahead.
I was wondering, if this were to happen, obviously there's some extra room there on your site. Do you have plans for expansion? Like, say, if it got approved and in 2 years from now it's twice the size?
Good question. We would like to have as much as we could. Montreal Williams said there's only 30 megawatts of power there. That's all that's available. So that's what we're doing. If we find out there's more power in the future, we would have to come back to the same process and request a CUP. We don't get to do anything without coming back to you with another request. So the scope of the project is this one building, 30 megawatt building. That's all we can do without coming before you all again. We'd like to do more. We'd like to do a couple hundred megawatt in the North and South Dakota area. And because there's power here, we're here.
Thanks, Gary. I think what we'll do is we'll go through the hearing. We'll let the people come up, whatever they wish to say. And then when we're done, I'm sure there'll be more questions. We'll have to have you come back up.
All right, thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Gary. And then I would note here, if you wish to, if you guys are on the phone, you can hear me. I believe you need to press your *6 to unmute yourself. I forgot to tell you that earlier. So if you wish to speak, you're more than welcome to. Just *6 and away you go. Okay? So with that being said, is anybody else wish to speak on this? Yep, come on up, please.
Hello, my name is Carol Herbert. I am from Bottineau, North Dakota. I have farmed that land where this proposed building is going to be. I have picked rocks where that land is. I know what the topography is like. I know the way the winds blow. They are well within my family home, which is under that mile range. Daryl Bergstrom lives within that mile range. He has not agreed to have a building built there. The land that is adjacent to it is now currently under foreclosure. I would be one of the owners, as well as my two brothers. We have not agreed to any type of a building on this sort. We have said this is agricultural land. We wish to keep it so. There is I don't believe I heard any data saying that there was any noise studies done during the winter. We all know that winters are cold and long here. We all know that noise travels. My brother is 71 years old. He deserves to live out his life on our family home without having a bunch of noise. I think if it was you, you would agree. The other thing that we have as a family have a real hard time with is the fact that this land was bought by Lauren Ramberg, which is Barry Ramberg's brother. His yes vote means he's voting to mitigate that land for his brother, not taking into consideration for the rest of the township.
With all due respect, I think, I don't know if those are appropriate comments. Barry can speak for himself, but
Okay.
we're not going to go there about
I'm just
how they
saying,
feel or what they
this is
think.
how we feel, and
Okay,
we
that's how you feel, but that's not how the Rambergs may feel. So you need to keep that separate.
Right. We have a right to say this. And by the way, Barry Ramberg is also a relative.
And I don't have any financial stuff. My brother bought that place. I have nothing to do with it, but he doesn't own it now. These people do.
Right, but he
So-
sold it to them.
Well, and you guys, the Bergstrom family sold it to Hammond Phillips.
Unfortunately, yes,
Well,
that was,
and the
that
township-
was before my time,
Well,
before I
get that,
became a
but
landowner.
I was on the township board at the time, and we were adamant to not to do that, because then you wind up with a spot of land with heavy industrial, that when that goes away, this is what we're left with. That's why we didn't want to do it then, but now here we are.
But you did do it.
No,
You did, I mean, you did allow Hammond Phillips to be put there.
I wasn't on the commission at the time.
Well, it was allowed, and like I said, if my brothers and I had been it, we would not have allowed it. But my big thing is this is well within the mile. I have driven by, I have a nephew who has land across from this current Bitcoin thing here in Williston. He is part of a lawsuit. I believe he also was part of a lawsuit against the county commissioners. But they now have a lawsuit against the Bitcoin company for the noise and the smell and the depreciation of their land around it. I've been over there. I don't want this close to my brother. I don't want it close to our family home. I don't want my heirs to have to not be able to enjoy what my forefathers, my grandparents, and my parents worked so hard for. I don't want them to have to say, I cannot build on our family land because of the noise or the smell. Do you have any questions for me?
Is there any, this family land you have, is there any pumping units or tank batteries or anything on this land? Or is it just, I mean, it's plumb quiet there, or is there oil activity there?
There is oil activity connected beside it, not on that property. You can see yep. Daryl has not agreed to any type of a thing of putting a building there, and the family will not agree to do that. We wish to keep our family home nice and peace and quietful for us to grow in. And yes, I do realize that the topography of it, that noise will go right down through the coulees and swing right around to his farm.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else wish to come up and speak? This is a public hearing. Anybody on the phone wish to speak? I'll ask you one more time on the phone. Anybody on the phone wish to speak to this matter?
Kate, I have a question, but
Yep.
I'll wait till you're done with the public hearing and then I'll ask it.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Last time, any public input? Okay, go ahead, Dan.
Okay, the question that I have is, I think that most of us are fairly familiar with the Ellendale situation. So the question that I have is the facility at Ellendale uses enough electricity to raise the cost of power in that area, and it could be also be our area too, and there's some discussion about Atlas raising the price of electricity because of the quantity they're using. So two questions that I have then are, will the usage of power from this facility also impact our ability to have enough electricity, and will we be paying more for electricity? And secondly, the Atlas plant in Texas, that facility has a contract to buy power from the grid, and then when the grid needs the power, they sell it back at a higher emergency price, and they were actually at one point a year ago making more money selling the electricity back to the grid than they were in being a facility for Bitcoin mining. Well, that's my question.
Okay, so I don't know if that's a Gary question or I do see Alex sitting in there. And we're not trying to put you on the spot, but would you be willing to come up and kind of give us some ideas about where you guys are going with your growth and capital improvements? Because I do anticipate a lot of growth in this vicinity.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
So, yeah, my name is Alex Fornes. I'm the general manager of Montreal Williams Electric Cooperative. Yeah, I was actually here tonight for the basin part of this, but glad to share with. There was a lot mentioned there. You know, the whole power grid is connected in the Midwest, right? We're within the Southwest Power Pool Regional Transmission Organization. Basin is a member of that. Montreal Williams is a member. So it's all connected. It's hard to say, to point at one load and say, this is going to increase prices or this is going to decrease prices, but actually both could be true. I guess what I'd like to explain is how maybe we look at load additions that come to us. So Montreal Williams has an obligation to serve all members. We don't turn anybody away. We look at a project and we say, you know, what are you wanting to build? Okay, this is your power needs. This is what we would need to build on our grid and up the chain to Basin Electric. What do they have to do on their transmission system or up to their generation to serve that load? And those studies are done, and then we present that back to our member who requested that, or prospective member. So during that study as well, they're looking at keeping the grid intact and not having, large price swings because of this one load being added. So there's a lot of engineers that look at that along the way, all the way down to Little Rock, Arkansas, where SPP headquarters is based. They're based out of. But we go through the right studies, and I guess I don't have any concerns about particular loads that we add. I think we do the right things. We you have something on the agenda today to add generation to the grid, and that's, that's part of, development is, adding resources over time to the grid. Yes, in general, the resource or the demands on the electric grid are growing. And it's not just because of this particular project. It's, oil and gas, it's residential, it's everywhere, all over the country. So I know I didn't probably answer all his questions on the phone there, but I guess I'll take any specific ones that I maybe didn't hit.
Dan, did that help you out?
No, I'm good with that, Tate. Thank
Okay,
you.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
And again, this is just one building, right? This is not, if they decide they want another building, if this thing were to go through, they have to come back in front of everybody again, correct?
Correct. Yep, this is just for a 30 megawatt facility. So if they want to expand above and beyond the 30 megawatts, they would have to come back in front of the board, do the whole process all over again.
And, okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mark.
Michelle, just for reference, the one we passed last month, how big was that?
10, I believe. I think it was just a 10 megawatt. So small
About 3 times the
facility.
size then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions they'd like to ask? I do have a few questions, I guess. Because you want to do the best you can to separate yourselves. I guess maybe this is more to Gary, I guess, to separate yourselves from the disaster we've had with our company out west of town, Atlas, because they've thrown this community in this region under the bus. We have members in this community who are involved in that who threw us under the bus. How do we know that that won't happen? That we have some assurances on what you're saying tonight, what you're providing to us tonight, that's what you're gonna do? If that all makes sense. And I don't mean to put on a loaded question. I'm just trying to have the separation because we do not want to have anything to do with Atlas. They have been nothing but problems for this county.
It's been a headache for us as well because it reverberates across the whole country.
And that's the
What's happened
problem.
here is across the whole country. It's not just in Williams County. I mean, we're seeing Montreal County reacting, McKinsey County reacting, but even Morton County over in Mandan has said, we're going to put a moratorium on for now because they don't know what's happening. And so this is just the case of happening all over the country. But the reality is, this is where the country's headed. And you can either choose to participate or not, and that's just a question that each community has to wrestle through. We just feel this is a great location because it's so far out in an area that's isolated, recognizing it's not 100%, but we're pretty close at 0.9, and the noise level's down, and we've changed our entire design about it. We have to come back. We are very concerned that we want to be good neighbors. We would like to, if Montreal Williams gives us more opportunities in Montreal County, we want to bring people to the site that we came here, testified, did what we said we would do. It's really a function of, if you don't do what you say you're going to do, it's going to catch you down the road. Part of my point is we'd like to do a couple hundred megawatts in the North and South Dakota area. I want this to be a place I can bring people to, and we did what we said we would do. That's our goal, and we're very much committed to that. We will do more mitigation. I will commit right now that if we feel the levels aren't high, if they're higher than they come across, we would do another sound study 6 months from now once we're up and going. If we hear some complaints, we'll take another look at it. There's things we can do to put some walls up on the perimeter to deal with it, but our noise is going up. We're not pushing it out the sides. The other thing is we can do maybe some more inside with insulation. So until we get in the middle of the project, we won't know, but there's a number of things, when you go to your home and you put a sound theater in, you're doing things to create sound, whether it's an auditorium. In this room, you're dealing with all the sound to get good. We're committed to being a good neighbor because we want to do more projects. And if we do a lousy job here, we don't do what we say, we're not going to get to do any more projects. So I will commit personally that NR4 will if it's louder than we say it is, and we would be willing to do another study after we've been going for 6 months and come back before the board. I mean, obviously, once we're up and going, we're up and going. You can't really stop us, but we would like to, if there's more power, have the opportunity to do another location on the property. But we don't know if that ever will be available. We're building this one project right here, and that's all we're asking for approval on tonight.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay?
Anybody else have any questions? Yep, go ahead. You do? Okay.
I take,
I had one quick
Yeah,
one.
go ahead, James. Yeah.
More on the economic side of thing. I saw you had 20 to 30 permanent jobs. When you're doing your cash flow projections, what types of wages did you put in that formula?
50 to 70,000 in this area.
All right, thanks.
We're hoping we can get it done here. In South Dakota, I can get that done. Here, I'm not sure I can, but that's where we're at.
And then there was, I forget the number, was it 20 local, employees on site? Or,
Yeah,
I mean, is that?
We have
they're
tentative
actually-
30, but we're looking at through remote monitoring, it's gonna be between 15 and 20 people. And we will operate 24/7, and we'll have a security fence all the way. We didn't show it, but there'll be security fence around the perimeter. We'll have it won't look like it does today and some of the things in that same industrial park. I think we're gonna have a nice facility, but it'll be about 15 to 20 people because we'll have people there 24/7, 7 days a week.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if the service end of the business, if they was all just remote, or if there's actually gonna be people?
Those will people be on the site because when you have thousands of computers in a building, I don't know how often your computer works at home, but it's just another computer, you got a fan going out and you're having to replace it. And the reality is these computer miners, about every 3 years, they're done. So you're replacing those computers on a continual basis. They're pretty expendable.
Okay, anybody else have any questions at the moment?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Thanks, Gary. Dan, you're on the phone. Do you have any more questions?
No, I'll wait till the hearing's closed.
I did. I closed it.
Okay. Here's my concern. Township's not on board. It sounded like they hadn't met with them at the beginning. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay, but they're not on board.
Well, they've said they denied it, but I don't believe they've actually sat down with Gary and his team and whatnot to have communications and go through the process. Based off what we were
Okay,
told tonight.
And I would, then, if the hearing's closed, I would make a motion to table until they sit down with the township and get them on board.
Okay, we have a motion to table this and request them that they go back and meet with the township board. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
And we have a second. So they'll go back to the township, have their discussions. We can rely on some of their comments and whatnot as well, in case they have, maybe they're dead set against it, maybe they're for it. I guess we'll take that at the next go-around, depending on where this goes. Okay, any other questions?
Yes,
Go ahead, Dan.
I was just gonna say, it's very difficult for us to go against the township board. Very difficult.
And I agree, because we've been pretty clear on that the last several years, for that matter. We do follow suit a lot with them. And I think we owe it to the township that they need to speak on this. Unfortunately, they're not here, but so be it. So, okay, anybody else have any questions? Okay, roll call, please. I'm sorry. You good? Okay, roll call, please.
Barry?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Sherelle?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And Tate?
Yes, motion carries. So is that something you coordinate that, Michelle, or does Gary do? Who does that? Go ahead, Cameron. I see Cameron in the back. Go ahead, Cameron.
The applicant would need to reach out to the township and meet with them, and then once that's been facilitated, they would need to let us know, and then we could get it back on the agenda to come in front of this board.
Okay, and he can get that contact information through you?
It's
Or
also
through
on the county website.
But anyway, that's on me. I take,
Okay.
effort. Only concern I have is if they're just against anything related to data centers becomes a challenge, but it's what it is.
But that will come back to us and then we can have that discussion, so. Okay, thank you, guys.
I'd like to have it in writing why they're against it.
Yeah. Did you, if they support it, so be it. If they're against it, get it in writing, why and whatever have you. I saw that. Okay, thank you. Next one, we have Energy Sand Solutions for a CUP to construct and operate a frac sand facility in an agricultural zoning district. This is down in Hoffland Township. Ms. Michelle.
Okay, so this one is LU-0087-24. Energy Sand Solutions LLC is requesting a conditional use permit to construct and operate a frac sand facility within the agricultural zoning district. This is located in the northeast of the northwest and northwest of the northeast of Section 15, south half of the southeast and south half of the southwest of Section 10, and the southeast of Section 9, all located within Township 154 North, Range 96 West, which is Hoffland Township. On this one, Hoffland Township is governed by Williams County, so no township comment was solicited. The applicant is requesting this conditional use permit, which will allow them to construct and operate the frac sand facility within the agricultural zoning district. Subject property is comprised of approximately 405 acres total, with a maximum of 40 acres of mined land. The applicant does have a signed reclamation agreement with the landowner for if and when this use is no longer sustainable. The sand and gravel produced from the site will be utilized for fracking and other oil production purposes. The applicant is anticipating an average of 30 to 40 trucks per day within a 30-day time period. The route to and from the facility is anticipated to come from North Dakota 1804 south on 110th Avenue Northwest, then east on 52nd Street Northwest, south on 109th Avenue Northwest, and finally east on 53rd Street Northwest into the subject property.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Michelle? If not, I'll open up the public hearing. Is there any public input? Anyone wish to speak on this particular one?
This is
Yeah,
Annette Kessler. I've submitted some written comments
Oh,
that
hold
might
on.
be in your packet.
Yep, okay, hold on. Could you, sorry, bear with. Can you state your name again, please, for the record?
Hello, my name is Annette Kessler, and my family owns property adjacent to the property of the proposed mine.
Okay, bear with us here because we did receive several different packets of stuff just tonight and emails and whatnot through the
Yep.
last couple of days.
It would be in the second little group of them that's stapled together.
Yes, we do have it, ma'am.
Okay, so is that sufficient, or should I ask my question?
You are more than welcome to go ahead and speak. I mean, you go right ahead. You're good.
Oh, okay, it seemed, so I did see some information, but I do have some questions about the quarry. It looks like that there are underground oil extraction pipes, and so I'm wondering if the XTO Energy has had a chance to analyze what the impact of this mining would be on oil operations. And so I don't know if anyone is prepared to answer questions, or if I should just go through them.
No, you're okay, ma'am. There is an email from XTO Energy, and they would like to hereby request a continuance of tonight's meeting so that they may have time to understand the scope and proposed methods of the frac sand facility. So they did also, they didn't say they're for or against it, but they just simply are asking us to basically table this as well so that they are allowed to do their due diligence.
Oh, okay, that would be great. And so then my other questions are concerning the condition of I believe it's still a dirt road access, and that seems like quite a bit of traffic on dirt roads. I wanted to just clarify who is responsible for maintaining that so that the oil and gas vehicles would have uninterrupted access to their wells, to their wells that are on 52nd Street Northwest.
Okay, we'll have to come back to that, but we'll find out.
Okay, and then it seems kind of close to the watershed, and so I'm wondering if there are other permitted quarries that are that close to something as big as Lake Sacagawea.
Okay, we'll have to find, I can't give you an answer yet. We don't know, so just bear
Okay.
with us.
And, okay, yeah, and that's what I figured is that more details would be coming forward, such as, regarding the mitigation for erosion and runoff and drainage and maintaining the water quality and those things. And so then I guess my other question is about Energy Sand Solutions LLC and just their background, and have they completed successfully other projects of similar size and scope and proximity to large bodies of water that might have the same kind of issues?
Okay, we'll cross that bridge as well.
Okay.
Okay,
So yeah, I think it's just, I'd like to see more information, and since we're tabling it for XTO Energy to weigh in, I think that's good.
No, that doesn't mean we're tabling it. That's their request.
okay.
Big difference.
Oh, okay.
It's okay though, but it's on the record that was a request from them as well.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, so that would be my request. Do I need to make a motion or?
No,
Okay.
you don't, unfortunately, you don't get to make them. Sometimes I wish you could though.
Oh, okay.
No.
Sorry, I don't know all my Roberts rules.
No, you're doing fine. You're allowed to speak and you did fine.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Okay, go ahead, guys. You guys are up. Go ahead.
My name's Roger Baker, and this is on my land. Can Annette still hear anything that's going on?
Yep, Annette, yeah,
Oh,
she
yes,
can.
I can.
Yep,
Uh-huh.
she can.
Okay, hello, Annette. XTO put a gas line in on the west side of that southeast of 9, and they're in the process of putting a pipeline on the school land from the Michael State on the north edge of 16 over to the oil well that's the Kelvy that's on your property in section 15. And Energy Sand Solutions, I've toured their facility. He actually has another one that's up and running down by Hazen, and that is actually on his own dad's land. That's quite the operation, and it's taken care of very well. And the water issues are no problem. Actually, this site will be right directly across from Michael State Well in the lowest part of my pivots there, which doesn't have very much sand on top. But it said 40 acres. It'll be 40 acres at any specific time until it's reclaimed, and just go 40 acres, every 6 months or every year or whatever it takes to do that. So the whole thing won't be opened up at once, that's for sure.
I'm just waiting to see if she has any additional questions.
Okay.
Was there anything else that she wanted?
Oh, yeah, if I could ask a follow-up question. So there was a map that I saw that showed the initial mining site would be more to the east. So do I understand correctly that the mining site would change, that you would mine one area, restore it, and then they'd start mining another area and move around different parts of the property? Is that what I heard?
Yes, each of those pivots cover, 80 acres or 120 acres, or 80 acres, 60 acres, 90 acres, or 130, 120 acres. So it would just be, mine 40 acres each at a time. And so that.
Oh, okay, so this is a conditional use, so is there some end time period? It sounds like this will now be a very long extended time period. It's not just 40 acres. And so is there a time frame or does an ending point to this conditional use?
No, ma'am, there's not. But what he had stated that they would do 40 acres at a time. When the 40 acres is developed, they'll continue onward, reclaim the first 40, and then go work on the other 40.
Okay, thank you very much. That helps my understanding.
Right, and there was a comment too, and if they violate, obviously, the CUP, that would obviously rescind that as well. Okay, you guys, you're good?
I'm good.
Okay. We'll just keep on moving.
Okay.
All right, any public input?
My name is Tom Powers from Williston, and I own the golf course out there. Really, the question is just repeating the truck route. I just want to see how that may affect the golf course. 'Cause I went through the roads, 'cause I just wanted to see what the traffic would be. Because I don't want to interfere with Roger. He's been a good neighbor. We have our well on him.
So from 1804 south, over.
So it does go on the paved, on that chip seal. How is that gonna affect this year? It's my understanding that what is now chip sealed is gonna be paved next year. It was gonna be paved last fall, but they ran into problem with, getting any, asphalt. So they did prep it all the way down to Little Egypt, the county did, but it never got paved because there was no material left. And it's my understanding, I've talked to Dennis Nelson, that they intend to pave that road this year. That would be a challenge, having 30, 40 trucks every day when you're trying to pave a road, I would think.
You want to answer that, Barry?
Well, he's correct on, he's correct on, we were gonna have it paved last fall, but the pit, had the hot mix plant set up and run out of material, and we had just enough to finish County 19. So we were planning on doing that portion this coming construction season, but, I mean, you just work around, I mean, you know, they pave highways, well, you know, pave one side, traffic on the other. I mean, it'll just have to, you'll have to just work together.
Okay, yeah,
Everything's
but this,
possible with cooperation.
well, that doesn't actually, I mean, if I'm looking at this map right, that's not the chip sealed part, is it? That they're not gonna go over where it's chip sealed. They're,
Go ahead, Tom, you can
They're
walk
north-
up there and show them.
they're north of that, I think. So it's not really gonna go on that road. That's what I was concerned about.
Yeah, the proposed truck route that I've seen earlier was, it's not on that chip seal anyway.
No, okay, that's what I wanted, because I didn't have a map that showed anything, so now I do. That was just my concern, is just how it would impact traffic on that. But
Oh,
it doesn't
well.
appear to be a problem at all.
It ain't gonna affect that chip
I-
seal.
I wouldn't
anyway,
think
you know,
so.
Won't do, you know,
Okay.
Might
no,
not do
I just
the
didn't know where the
township
road
road
was,
much
that's
good,
all I
but-
wanted to find out, because I didn't have this map before. All right, thank you.
So I'm sorry, Raj, you're comfortable then at this point with that? Okay, thank you.
Could I address one more question that Annette had? Is that she asked about maintaining the road. Actually, 52nd Street is the first one that goes west from the proposed site. XTO built the road all the way between the Michael State and the Kelvey on the south side of southeast of 9, and they maintain it all the way to 109. And then the trucks would go north on 109 to 53rd, and then west to 110. So when you read it, it was kind of backwards, but that's fine.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak on this? Last time?
Okay, one quick one.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan, go ahead. I forget the delay.
We've got a game management area on the south side of this thing.
I'm sorry,
That's
say that
correct.
again? Oh, yes.
Has there been any comments from Game and Fish?
Michelle shaking her head no.
We have not received
not
any,
received-
no. But we do send, since we send to state of North Dakota and all of the surrounding 1 mile landowners. And only received from Annette the written comment.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the hearing has been closed. What are the wishes of the board on this one?
I got a question for the young fellow. Well, I didn't catch your name. Okay, what you guys are mining, is that what we normally call blow sand?
You can,
Okay.
would you come up to the
Yeah.
mic if you would, please?
And state the name too.
Yep. And your name again for the record.
Andy. Thomas.
I guess one of my major concerns when I see these, we do quite a few sites on blow sand. I mean, it travels for miles when the wind's blowing. What's gonna happen to the golf course over there when the wind blowing from that direction? I mean, how do you keep it from blowing, or?
Well, from that location, the golf course is, approximately a little over a mile, I think is what it shows on the map. And, most of the time, we don't have winds from that direction, so that's the way it goes. We do have sites open, like we mentioned, down around Hazen and stuff like that. And it does move a little bit on you. We don't see it move miles or even a mile. But we do see it move, into the pit and stuff, which is why we limit it to such a small amount being open at one time. So we can help control that a little bit.
So you're using conveyors and stuff for mining this, or how?
Yep.
How do you?
Yep, we'll mine it. Most of it is open, free dig, loaders, excavators, things like that. We load it up, and then we can pump it or we can haul it. We put it on conveyors. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you get it moved around. But yes, most of it does move on a conveyor.
Then the other question, the roads that you're using, I'm assuming they're county roads?
Township?
Or the county is in charge of that township, correct, Barry?
So I don't know if you'd call them county or township. I don't know what they would be like.
Yeah, they're.
So how many trucks do you
township.
anticipate a day while you're going?
We like to do it like over a monthly base. So then we kind of say about 30 to 40 a day. Because sometimes you might see only 10 and some days you might see 50.
So.
You might go a week without any. I mean, it's just kind of.
Just an average 750 a month then? 750 to 900, somewhere there?
Yeah.
Okay. And Dennis didn't say anything about the roads down there?
No.
There's a bunch of oil wells, new oil wells down there that have seen a lot of traffic this year.
How do you guys want to proceed on this one? You do have a request from XDO, obviously. You had some questions from the net that obviously we can't answer at the moment.
What about what about the comments from, was it XTO or which oil company?
Yeah, it was
How did you
XDO.
cover that?
Yeah, and she, like I said, in that individual, Nicole Gorman Bement, whatever have you, she did send a letter, and that is a request that she would ask us to table this at this time, so they can do whatever research they need to do, and I would think they should have that at their fingertips, so this doesn't get drug out for 6 or 8 or 9 months. I mean, can you put a time frame on them to respond? I mean, what's reasonable? I don't know.
I'm not sure either. And I mean, this lady from XTO did call because the email came in about 3:30 this afternoon. Both Cameron and I have been on the phone nonstop today, fielding calls on different ideas and projects for tonight's meeting especially. She called later on in the afternoon, asked just to make sure that we got it. I let her know. She asked why they hadn't been notified, and I advised that we don't go and notify every oil company because we don't know who has the lease. We have to notify the landowners. That is what we're legally bound by because of the ordinance, so that is what we do. We don't go out and we look at, oh, whose oil well is this? we need to notify that company. That, to me, that should not, it's not our responsibility, so we don't do that, and that's why they didn't know until they got word from someone, I'm not sure who.
Yeah, they don't notify us when they're drilling a well out in the farm field.
So Michelle, I assume when they put in a pipeline, they got a easement, a 50-foot, 100-foot easement? Is that correct? It's on your land, I guess. You probably know?
They're planning, their next pipeline is between Michael State in 16 into the Kelvy, which is in 15. It's all south of 52nd Street. And Nicole was good enough to route her other pipeline on the very west edge of Section 9. And they even moved, that was a 24-inch pipeline. They moved the 6-inch pipeline that was further out into the field so that we could mine more sand already. So they moved that line way to the very west edge of my southeast of 9 as we speak, so.
So they're good to work with, I'm guessing. I mean, they want to be good neighbors.
I guess.
Pardon me?
Did she mention what she wanted to?
No,
Because they have done all of this stuff with the landowner, and now all of a sudden they want to, I don't know what they could be looking at, I guess.
So I guess, anybody, how do you want to proceed? We can either table it or you can move forward, subject to XTO having the ability to comment prior to them presenting at the county commission, to keep things moving. Yeah, go ahead, James.
I had one quick question popped into my head. That's for you. This pit, the proposed pit, do you have to register that with MSHA? Okay, so,
It's got to be an MSHA guided thing.
okay.
And do you have to submit a plan for how you're gonna handle problems with water, like when rain runoff and?
No, usually the county has some kind of a stormwater handling plan that we would usually follow, like our county does.
Well,
Marin County
have you
has it.
done that with Williams County yet?
No, do you guys have an SWP?
We do have a stormwater management plan. It is one of their conditions that they do have to obtain approval from the Williams County Water Resource District Board for either a de minimis effect or for full stormwater management plan. Because of the size of the facility, and there will be more than just a basic sand and gravel pit.
I'm just what I was thinking. I'm doubting that there's gonna be much of a runoff issue. There's about 80 feet of sand there, so it don't run far. It
Well,
goes-
then it'll just sink into the ground.
What's that?
Then it just sinks into the ground, so if it has like diesel and grease and so forth in it, it's carrying it down.
Well, I was talking more about just the runoff, right? But, yeah, I suppose if you spilled a whole bunch of fuel or something on it, it might have an issue, but, turns out one of the best natural filters you can come across is, sand.
So are you processing this sand on site? Or do they just haul?
Basically, it's just an extraction and washing. We just wash the fines out of it and the clays, and we just keep the sand.
And when you wash it, what happens to the water you use to wash it with?
It's a closed loop, so we use it over and over again. So it all stays on site. Nothing gets taken off site.
Just for your information, yes, we do get south winds here fairly frequently anymore. And I live downwind from a gravel road that has a lot of industrial traffic on it. I have a pasture that's half a mile from it that gets so dusty that the horses cough from eating the grass. So, yeah, you're going to have sand blowing.
The golf course is southwest of this, so very seldom do we have a northeast wind, but sometimes.
Yep, you have a question? Go ahead.
I had a question.
Go ahead, George.
The clays and stuff that you take off, are you using a chemical to get that to drop?
Yep, we use a coagulant and a flocculant
'Kay.
in the tanks.
What do you do with that stuff when it's reached its service time or whatever?
That stays into the washout stuff, and then its half-life is
And it-
nitrogen. So
It's
it's actually
buried
good
again.
for fertilizer.
Okay, any other questions? Thanks, guys.
Gary, what's the
Oh.
limit on that road? It's not 105.5, is it? And that-
It would be, yeah. Yeah.
I think that's 105.5 on all.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's sand or
You can
berm.
keep, you can,
Yep. Thank you, guys.
yeah, thank you. Okay, how would you guys like to proceed? Anybody? Some of the questions were answered with the road. They discussed how they do 40 at a crack. We've talked about the XDO question of concern, but that could be bundled into a motion if they decide to move forward. So it's not stalled.
I guess I would make a motion with staff comments and also finalizing everything with XTO before they proceed.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Was that Mark with the second?
Yes.
James?
Nope.
George?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Sherelle?
No.
Eric?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
And Tate?
Yes. Motion carries. Who reaches back out to XDO? Is that the applicant or is that the county? I'm guessing the county because they're sent it to you guys.
Yeah, I'll let her know and then refer her maybe back to both Energy Sand and Mr. Baker
That would, yeah.
to get, and I can send her the application materials that we have received as well, so they can kind of look over it and then really probably get their questions from
Sure.
those two.
From those two. Okay, thank you. We got to take 1 second, guys. We got to get our ducks in a row here. Bear with us. Give us a lot
I
of
know,
paper.
I know.
All right, everybody has their Basin Electric stuff coming up. All right, ready to roll. Next one, Basin Electric Power Cooperative for a zone change to heavy industrial for a proposed, I'm guessing it's a substation. The zone change just,
Oh, well, it's not, yeah. I'll explain.
I get it, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's out in Wheelock Township. Anyway, go ahead, Ms. Michelle.
Okay, so this one is LU-0089-24. Basin Electric Power Cooperative is requesting a zone change to heavy industrial for a proposed approximately 239.92 acre parcel. This is located within the located in the northeast, northwest, and southwest of Section 20, Township 156 North, Range 98 West, which is Wheelock Township. I did speak at great length with Tom Daniel, who is the supervisor chairman for Wheelock Township. He said that they have had several conversations and meetings with Basin Electric and are not opposed to the project at all. They have mentioned that it may be beneficial for Basin Electric to have conversations with NDDOT about having turning lanes off of Highway 2 just for safety reasons. And then Mr. Daniel also mentioned that it has been talked about with Basin Electric about the road to the new facility to be upgraded and to just make it a little bit better for everybody involved. So the applicant is requesting the zone change from the agricultural zoning district to the heavy industrial zoning district for a proposed approximately 239.92 acre parcel. The purpose of this request is for the construction of a new generation facility. The proposed project is 2 one-on-one combined cycle natural gas turbines with associated equipment. The facility is anticipated to have a nominal output of approximately 1475 megawatts. More information on the generation facility can be found in the project overview attached to the staff report. The applicant is also working through the minor subdivision process in conjunction with this zone change. The minor subdivision will consist of creating 2 new lots. The parcels for the minor subdivision will be 240.06 acres and then the 239.92 acres. The zone change for this project is just for the 239.92 acre parcel. The 240 acre parcel will remain in agricultural. Access to the subject property will be off 121st Avenue Northwest. And the minor subdivision is going through the administrative review process with the lots to be known as MS 24-0059 and MS 24-0060. Recordation of the plat will be contingent on the approval of the zone change. Recordation of the plat will be contingent on the zone change.
Okay,
Also, the applicant is on video, if, I think they may want to share, just so you're aware.
Yeah, and I think Nathan's still here. Yep, there he is. So he can help answer questions as well.
okay. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Michelle? Okay, if not, I will open up the hearing. This is a public hearing. We have the applicant, you said, is on the phone. Do you wish to
Yep.
speak? Yep. Do you wish to talk about it? Go ahead.
Yeah, we could say a few things. Good evening, this is Matt Ehrman. I'm the Vice President, Engineering and Construction at Basin Electric. I've got Aaron Dukart here with me in Environmental and Ryan King as well. We do have Nate Clyer. I think he's in attendance there too in case we needed to share any drawings or anything like that. But appreciate you considering this request. Our apologies for not being there in person. The travel plans didn't work out today. Maybe just a little bit about Basin Electric. We're a co-op. We're headquartered in Bismarck. We serve 140 different member co-ops in 9 states. We have existing generation and transmission in assets in Williams County. Pretty excited about the development work so far for this new generation project. We're already a neighbor in the county, and we want to continue to be a good neighbor. As indicated, we have met with some of the cities and townships. We've met with Ray and Epping, and had an open house in Epping, and have visited with the townships. Also have visited, with the DOT and others about the road and the county as well. We want to stress that we are a neighbor. Want to continue to be a good neighbor, and be happy to take any questions that anybody has for us tonight.
Okay, thanks for taking time to visit with us. I think what we'll do is we'll go through the hearing, and if we have questions, we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, guys. Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there any public input?
Brandon Garris, Dan Garris.
Dan Garris here,
So they got the original?
right here.
What's this?
What's this for? The original was supposed to come off. I own the power station on that off Highway 2 there. They were originally gonna come off that and go to the section 20 there. Now that they have changed, is this the second one?
Are you guys able to answer that question?
This is not a second one. The preferred site location has not changed. The area that's in the exhibit there is the area that we have been considering.
It actually looks like the drawing, when it was drawn in for the letter that we sent out, it looks like they drew up into section 19 as well. So that was,
This is wrong then?
I'm trying to look here to see.
Here's corner here and 80.
Here's my other one right here.
That's what we're just confused.
We're just getting some clarity on the maps, guys.
Okay.
I'm trying to look. Can you zoom out on the map on the screen, please? Just so we can.
They're not the same.
They're not the same.
I didn't notice that because it should be shifted over.
Over.
Be the
Whole thing.
quarter and the 80.
Just a quarter and an 80. And section
Yeah,
20
the map that was sent out was incorrect. I did not catch that, so.
This came from.
That's all we
Yeah,
needed to know.
no, so, yeah, so it is shifted over.
Because you said the northeast.
Yep, because it's the road you take, like you guys mentioned, you can see up in section 17 where there is that right on the corner of Highway 2. That's the road you take and it goes straight south and it's right there off of section 20. Yep, you are correct. The map that was provided,
This is the map.
yes, so the map,
That's what we're using.
yes, this one that was sent out with the letter was incorrect.
I'm glad you guys
I
brought it.
didn't catch it at all, yeah.
Okay, the guys on the, go ahead, Dan.
Wondering why, you know.
Yeah,
they're gonna have
no.
a second proposal with that one.
Yeah, it was not, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I needed to know.
All right, thanks.
Sorry about
Thanks,
that.
Dan and Brandon. All right, you guys on the phone there you go. Stop on that one right there. That's the location they're gonna be utilizing. I don't know,
Correct.
you guys on the phone on the Zoom, are you able to see that?
We're having a tough time seeing that. It's just, it's really tiny, kind of in the bottom corner here.
That is correct, though?
Yeah,
Okay, and you are?
that's Nate.
Directly south of that existing substation there on Highway 2.
Yeah, that's Nathan Clyer, so.
Nathan Clyer, Senior Property and Right-of-Way Specialist for Basin Electric. I apologize. I showed up earlier for work this week, so I made it and they didn't. That is
So
the
we're
right
good with that map?
location. Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna keep moving forward now
Yeah. I'll have them update
for the county
for the
commission.
county commission, yeah.
Okay, anybody else wish to speak on this matter? Last time? Yes, sir.
Hello again. Alex Fornes, General Manager of Montreal Williams Electric Cooperative. Montreal Williams Electric Cooperative is a member-owned cooperative. We serve Williams County and Montreal County. Montreal Williams is also a member of Basin Electric, so our members also are part owners in Basin Electric. We get 99% of our power supply for our cooperative comes from Basin Electric. So I'm here tonight in support of this project and the zoning change. Basin Electric is making the needed investments in the power grid that are needed for electrical reliability into the future. They're doing that by adding this kind of generation that's, dispatchable generation that can be started up when it's needed, and this is what the grid needs more of. This is a good project. Basin Electric, they said they're a good neighbor. Everything I've seen and working with them over the last 12 years, they've proven that. I think they are a good neighbor, they're a good operator, and I think this is a good project, adding the needed reliability for our members, other basin members all through the Midwest and within the state of North Dakota, and for residents of Williams County.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to add one thing. I just realized looking at this map, the one that's highlighted that was sent out, that is the second parcel that will not have the zone change. So I think they just highlighted around the wrong area that will have the zone change. So the one that's highlighted will remain in agricultural. And then the little leftover area on the northeast area, and then the whole northeast quarter will be the zone change, if that makes sense.
Last time, any public input? Close the hearing. What are the wishes of the board?
Just got a question, Tate. I assume when you put these substations in, you have overhead power lines. Now I see an MDU line running through there. How do you hook this into the power grid? Is there new lines coming in, or you hook into existing, or what?
Yeah, there will be new lines. The power plant will be situated there in the area that we're looking to get rezoned. And that location was selected because of the substation just to the north of there, about a mile north on Highway 2. So there would be transmission lines connecting between the power plant and that substation. And then about a mile to the south, kind of split the difference right in between those two areas. But about just a little over a mile to the south, we have another overhead transmission line there, and there'd be a transmission line that connects from the proposed power plant to that transmission line.
So there's 3 of these in like a 3-mile area, then, is what you're saying?
There would be lines running to the north up to Highway 2 to that substation, and then from the plant to the south to where there's an existing line that's running east-west.
Mark, I do have it on.
Would not be connected to the MDU line.
No, those are our ones there. That blue one to the north would be 230 kV. The red one to the south is a 345 kV.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that, if there was a question there.
Thank you.
No, Nathan was just giving us a little bit of explanation up here with the mapping.
Okay.
Okay, you guys, how would you like to proceed?
Make a motion to approve with staff comment?
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Eric seconded. Mark made the motion. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mark,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Sherelle,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
and Tate.
Yes, motion carries. Next one, Ramsey Hill exploration for a CUP to construct and operate frac sand facility in the agricultural zoning district. This is located out in Hoffland Township. Ms. Michelle?
Okay, so this is LU-0090 or 0090-24. Ramsey Hill Exploration is requesting a conditional use permit to construct and operate a frac sand facility within the agricultural zoning district. This particular property is located in the northwest quarter and southwest quarter of Section 8, MS 19-0003, located in the southwest quarter of Section 17, the south half of the northeast, less sublot 6, southeast of the northwest, Government Lot 2, which is the southwest northwest, the east half of the northwest, Government Lot 3, which is northwest southwest, Government Lot 4, southwest southwest, and the southeast less part of Section 18, located all located within Township 154 North, 96 West, again, Hoffland Township. With that one being governed by Williams County, no township comment was solicited. The applicant is requesting this conditional use permit to construct and operate a frac sand facility within the agricultural zoning district. The subject property is comprised of approximately 950 acres total. The mining portion of this operation will take place in sections 17 and 18 lying south of 52nd straight northwest, while the processing facility will be located approximately 3/4 of a mile to the north off of 110th Avenue Northwest. The applicant anticipates the mining area to be excavated to depths between 20 and 50 feet. It is their intention to utilize unused clay to refill the mining pits and will be continuously reclaiming the areas as they go. The applicant states that the elevation post-mining should be approximately 1,865 feet, with the starting elevation prior to mining is about 1,900 feet. As noted in their project narrative, the processing facility will have a drying operation that will consist of a rotary kiln dryer, cyclone, dust collection bag house, storage building, and load-out scales. The purpose of this facility is to help aid in oil field production by locally sourcing frac sand needed for operations. Access to the subject property is off of 110th Avenue Northwest. It is the intent of the applicant to avoid utilizing 52nd Street Northwest for access.
All right, any questions for Ms. Michelle on this one? Open up the public hearing. Yep, come on up, sir.
My name is Brian Lee. I'm one of the partial owners of Sheldon Family Farm. I'm Bill Sheldon's son-in-law. We're owned in 17 and 18 and parts of Section 8 there. And I guess we haven't signed any reclamation. We've signed exploration agreements, but we haven't officially signed on to give them full permission yet to go do this, and we haven't signed a reclamation agreement. And our main point is we want to be able to farm this land again and keep the pivots going when they're done, and that's our just want to make that statement.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Any public input? Yes, sir.
So,
Yep, just make sure you state your name for the record.
Danny Broderson and Tracy Broderson. And we own that little square white spot. I don't even know how to tell you where it is, right over your head.
Where, at the bottom of 18, there's that circle, yep, right there, right where his pin is at.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead, Tracy.
we had a few questions about how long the project will last until the land is fully reclaimed. It sounds like maybe Brian indicated that they don't have any kind of reclamation agreement yet.
There it is.
Yep, there's our place. This project will essentially go right around our home. And so that's why we came tonight is to ask a few questions and then also give us, voice to some of our concerns. So one of our big questions is how long until the area is fully reclaimed again? Is this, I guess we're looking at, is this a 1-year project, a 5-10-year project?
Especially with what was explained on the other piece, right, which is just over the hill by the golf course down there on Hoffland Bay. How each little section, so it's gonna be continuous. One of our big concerns, it's kind of a tough subject, right, because we bought this from Bill. We're very blessed that they chose to sell us this. This is our retirement dream home. Might not look like it quite on that picture, but the lake and the view that we have from this piece of property is unbelievable. The same thing when you look out that side towards their farm.
North.
That's either in corn, wheat, or potatoes with all the beautiful flowers. It's silent out there. We have eagles flying by. We have moose walking down the road. It's an amazing spot. We're locals, both of us are. We've been in this oil field all our life. It has supported us and taken care of us, and it's really hard to have anything negative to ever say, but we lived over on County Road 6 for about 10 years. We had 20 acres there, and they built a compressor station right across the street. We know they're necessary. We just didn't want to live next to one. So we sold that piece of property, and luckily through communications with Bill, we picked this up. We have a 9-year-old daughter that we adopted, and we're concerned about what's going on in her playpen, you know, right outside the backyard of our house. We also concerned about, which we talked about, you spoke of, the blowing sand that's going to come from this when they start opening this up, and how hazardous, as we read, and I don't know if the sand is the same, but we've read articles and done some research over in Wisconsin and those areas over there where the sand is so micro small that when it gets into your lungs, it's passed right into your breathing. Not something that we would care to have our 9-year-old daughter. We're old, you know, we'll probably not make it through there whether we had sand or not, but, you know, damaging her lungs, you know, going through something like that. And at the same time, if this winds up being something wonderful for the Sheldons, they're so good to the economy or to the area. They do so much for the people in the surrounding areas, so much for us given this. We hate to even come forward and say, we're concerned. But that's kind of where this is. The other part of our concern was this was all in for us. We invested a lot of money into this house and into this place with the intention that in 10 years, we'd be able to double our investment into this, sell this off, and take care of our retirement. We're very concerned what this is going to do for the property value of the house, because where it sits now, you're going to have awful hard time finding a place as beautiful as that, with the view that's coming off both the lakeside and the other side. The increased truck traffic, really hard for me to talk negative about truck traffic. Operations manager for a crude oil trucking company, feeds my family. At the same time, do I want them driving down my road? I don't. And I don't know if that road that goes right there, I know it's like I told you, it's tough, but that road that goes there, our easement road that the contractor tried so hard to build and failed at miserably, to have Bill show up in an hour, couple hours, turn that into a beautiful road for us, you know? Is that gonna be, the first pictures we saw, we thought everything was gonna be way over to the other side of us. The dirt stripe you see coming down is the new pipeline that was run across the lake. So there's a big wide variance, what we've seen on a different picture of like 75 feet or something on each side of that pipeline. And it looked like the road was gonna be, like that road would close, the one you just had your pointer on. There is the picture that I was used to seeing. And so you can see where the pipeline runs through there. And from what I understand, everything was going to be over to the right, like where 110th there is. And then all of that dirt would be put into hills or whatever you want to say inside that area. And then they were going to run some kind of an underground pipeline, from what I read, over to the red area. And that sand would be made into a slurry and pumped over there so it wasn't trucked over top of the road. That red area where you see right now, there is currently I think it's right there, maybe it's a little
to
bit
the
this
south.
side. There's currently a drilling rig going on there right now. So I imagine that's why they were using that road. Like I said, you know, the impact to the wildlife is phenomenal there. And, you know, we hate to be whiners about the whole thing, but geez, man, what a place to live, huh? Being a local, I graduated high school in Williston in 1979. When I was a little boy, about 10 years old, first place that I went with the neighbors was Red Mike. You know, that's where we all went fishing, you know. So phenomenal that we got to have that piece. I'd like to have it a little longer, looking just like it is, but this is how we feel, and we just wanted to put that on. I don't know if Tracy had any more to say.
Well, I guess the question about how long the project will take in reclamation is really important to us to know, because if it's a couple-year project and it'll be reclaimed after that, it doesn't affect us as much. If it's going to be an 8 to 10-year project, it will, because our, you know, retirement plans are in about 8 to 10 years. So
And just like Brian had spoke, you know, that's all pivot, that's all irrigated farmland. It's gorgeous. We want him back farming. We want to see our purple potato flowers, you know, and all that kind of stuff. It's just a wonderful place for us.
So is there anyone here or, okay, okay, okay. And then another concern is that our official road easement goes east of our home to the corner and then goes straight up through that orange patch and up through Mr. Sheldon's shop buildings. So we'll lose our road easement to our property. And so we're not sure what'll happen then.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Honey? I think our road easement comes right out past the bottom of that pipeline. And then I think we do go through Sheldon's because they let
Well,
us.
No, that's
But I'm
where
not
our
so sure
official,
We're not supposed to go by the
No.
cabins. No, that's right.
no,
All right.
our official
I
road
stand
easement,
corrected.
our
That's why she's
official
up here.
road easement goes to the corner and then goes up through Mr. Sheldon's because they had a problem with the easement on 51st Street along those cabins there.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Remember?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so Bill kindly asked us to please use the road in front of the cabins, but it's shorter just to go straight and go north through the shop area, so we do that more often. So we're concerned then where our road easement would go, if that's something that it would also have to be re-surveyed and configured and worked out.
And I think the blowing sand and the noise is probably our number one concern, the health of our child, the health of us, the noise. It's silent out there, you know, that house has, I don't even remember anymore, 28 3x5 windows and 3 or 4 big, huge sliding glass doors. And my wife asked me, why are there no curtains? Can't we get some curtains? I said, no, I don't want no curtains. I want to be able to look out no matter where I am, and that's the way we have it. Somebody drives by and sees us getting dressed, they'll never go that way again. So we love our spot.
All right, are you done with your,
Yeah, I'm done.
okay. Are we
Yeah.
done? Yep. she has
Thank you.
been.
Anybody here?
Okay, anybody else? Yep, is there somebody on the phone?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, just state your name,
Hello?
please.
This is Mike Chena. I'm with Ramsey Hill Exploration. I just, if you wanted me to answer any questions addressing previous comments, I can, or I can wait.
No, go ahead.
In regards to the life of the mine, it would likely be, obviously, it's based off of market conditions. If the market is good, obviously oil and gas is up and down, but the amount of material that could be mined there could last anywhere from 15 to 30 years. In regards to the road easement, we don't have any intent to mine that road out of there. The road would stay. So I think without me being there and being able to see what you guys are presenting, I'm assuming that the portion on the east side of that road easement will be mined. We would probably pump the sand from there as well, and either under the road or north to the plant. So that road will stay. We're not going to affect that road. I'm assuming the couple that spoke is down along the lake. There's a handful of houses down there. Is that correct?
No, ours is by itself.
No, sir, he said, Danny said it's by itself.
It's the only house there to the west of the cabins.
Yeah, it's to the west of the cabins that you're speaking of.
Cabins.
Yeah, on the very
Oh.
south side, there's those cabins that come off of 110th Avenue Northwest on 51st Street Northwest, so they're still to the west of that. And I think the road easement that they're speaking of is an easement between them and Mr. Sheldon to go from their property and instead of down and over to 110th Avenue Northwest, to go directly north up to 52nd Street Northwest. So it would go pretty much right through the drawing, the figure 3 mining area that you had provided our
Oh,
office. It goes right up through
okay.
the middle of that.
Oh, so that road, does that go right basically by Bill's buildings there on, right at the farm?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that I guess our thoughts with that would have been mined. You know, maybe we could work around that. I can't answer that right now, but I wouldn't say it's impossible, but, I mean, it's fairly close to the gas pipeline there, so some of that would have to stay regardless because of the right of way of the gas line. So, we might be able to do something there to make that work. But I don't, it'd be kind of right in the middle of somewhat of the mining operation, so I don't know that, you know, that would be something you'd want to drive up through necessarily either, so to speak. Depending on how wide an area we left there. I guess that would have to be thought about. I guess our intent would be mining through there. I was thinking it was the other road, maybe the continuation of 110th down to the south. In regards to the sand, I mean, it's the mine is going to be a pit, so it's going to be basically below grade. So near the, you know, those homes or cabins and everything to the south would be, you know, not real visible because it would be below the eye level, if you will. With any of the processing equipment that would be needed to prepare the sand and pump it to the north to the plant would be up near 52, right along the road there, essentially over by the corner of the water depot. Berms can be placed as well with topsoil to create a barrier for any potential blowing sand. We don't intend to open up large tracts, you know, all at one time. So that can be minimized with any of that potential. Any roads that maybe would be used frequently within the mine can be watered with any of the mining equipment. The sand naturally in the ground is going to have a natural moisture to it as well. So it won't be as dusty as you may be thinking it would be. And the other thing as well is the dust that blows around from just raw sand out of the ground isn't to the hazardous levels that we may have read about. Studies were done in Wisconsin back when a lot of the mines were being put in place here about 10, 12 years ago. And it was proven that the air monitors were not really necessary. A lot of the dust will be more of a clay dust than anything. It won't be a silica dust. Silica typically has to be gone through a crushing process to really expose those fine particles to you know, a high level. And we can do things as well with, you know, with watering just to keep the general dust down the best we can. Like I say, we probably would have we'd use the topsoil that would come off, you know, and can create berms to, you know, create a natural barrier as well. You know, and then as mentioned, you know, the trucks, all truck traffic hauling product out would not be in anywhere near that area. It would be up on 110th, you know, going north from there. So we're going to avoid going to the south to 52 and anywhere near the golf course. Now you guys can take over again.
Okay, yep, I appreciate your comment. If we have further questions, we'll come back to you. Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there any public input?
Hello, my name's Spencer
comment,
Littlefield.
please.
I own a 10-acre piece just on the south end of 17 that butts up against the Red Mike Golf Course. I guess my concern is with it is the grass piece up behind my house is the only non-farmable ground. And is that where they're going to start? It would be right behind my house. The other thing I was wondering is I have not been contacted by anybody about this because it's pretty much surrounding my place. My land is residential. When I bought the place, I was in here and argued that fact. But anyway, that's the way it is. Is residential land able to be mined? Do I have any I guess what I'm trying to say is it possible for them to mine on my stuff? Or is that, since it's residential, is that not an option? And with the plant going in on 110th, that is the way, the direction that I go to work, that is the direction my kids go to school. They go to school in Ray. With that amount of trucks going down that road could lead to be a problem. But anyway, those are just a few of my concerns. I guess it would have been nice to have been contacted by the company before this happened, seeing that it's right behind my house. And I guess that's all I have to say.
Thanks. Thanks, Spencer. Okay, last time, any public input?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment, please.
Pardon me?
I have a comment.
Yeah, go ahead. Just state your name again, please.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everybody. This is James Freeboard. And along with my brothers, we own a residence at Red Mike, along with a number of other people. And, you know, I sent you guys a letter to review some comments. And I just wanted to emphasize that given the number of questions regarding safety, health impacts, and economic harm, for example, decreased property value, it just is not appropriate to allow a mining operation across the street from where people live. If anybody has questions for me, great. If not, I'm done. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Freeberg, and we did receive your letter as well. So that's on file for the record as well. Okay, yep, come on up, sir.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, my name's Jason Walla. I own property right on the south end of 17. It's kind of that matrix of lots that you see there. I bought that property approximately 5 years ago. It is subdivided out. You know, with this entire thing, the Sheldons, should they decide to proceed with this, I mean, they're great neighbors. I know that they'll do everything that they can to do what's best in interest for the land and the property in our area. My only concerns are the blowing dust. The gentleman that spoke over the deal doesn't live out there. I know that if you dig deep enough, you know, you get sand, that there is some moisture content, but it truly is really fine sand. So I would hope in your consideration, just like you had spoke about the pastures with the horses, hopefully you can find some sort of regulatory standoff to, I mean, you look along there, there's a lot of houses. Hopefully they get a decent amount of standoff should you approve this project along with mine. And then also the thing I would request is potentially limiting the amount of area that they could mine at any given time, because truly the land out there, when we have a dry spell, it is, well, it's exactly what they're looking for. It's fine, fine sand, and it will blow. I don't care what anybody does, it's gonna blow. As far as, I mean, I actually own a trucking company here in Williston. We just started hauling sand, the truck impact. I mean, I live on both sides of this, you know. Like the other gentleman said, I own trucks, so I don't, but it doesn't necessarily mean I want them in my backyard, but at the same time, I mean, it is what it is. It's the area that we live in. In this area out here, we've kind of been spoiled. It's kind of been untouched by oil field by and large comparatively to the other areas. I would just say that the other things that maybe on your end, should you do any road improvements like you were speaking of, I know that exact road isn't going to be utilized as much, but that road heading north that they will use a lot. The one thing I've learned from hauling sand is it is a lot of trucks, and it never stops. It's 24 hours a day. It's highly demanding from me and my business side, and it'll also be highly demanding on any county roads that you have out there. Again, I know the Sheldons will do the right thing as far as making decisions on their property and bearing in mind the effects that it'll have on neighbors and, you know, wildlife and things of that nature. But I would like you to keep into consideration, try to keep the parcels as small as possible should you approve it, so that we don't have vast areas of opened up mine at any given time, so we can minimize our exposure, because it's sand. Once they open it up, getting something to grow in there, it takes a lot of time for it to reestablish. And I mean, Bill and Brian, they struggle with it every year, you know, trying to keep things from washouts from happening. And they're always planting cover crops, doing the right thing, trying to keep their stuff in line. So adding a mine to it is going to add a whole new level of supervision that somebody's going to have on that land, or it'll just continue to deteriorate. But to what everybody else said, mainly the impact of sand blowing, I feel is what you need to figure out on your side of the table, how to best regulate that and minimize the effect of all the people that live along there, including me. Spencer, that poor guy, he's dead center in the middle of it. It is going to be literally off his back porch. So that's all I really have. Again, I don't want to stand in the way of the Sheldons of capitalizing, but at the same time, I hope the company that's doing the work really is responsible, and hopefully you can regulate how they do that.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, last time, any public input on this one?
I'm Tom Powers again. I own the golf course, the Links in North Dakota. And I too don't want to do anything that harms the Sheldons. He's been a wonderful neighbor to have. When we needed access to do a lot of improvements out there, he was the first one to show us the way. But what I'm concerned with the project this size is not the Sheldons and what they do. I know that he runs a great operation out there, but when you have a mining operation this, I'm kind of disappointed the company hasn't done more to show us exactly how it takes place. Show us your machine, show us the noise level, show us the dirt level. Because I know one thing, they're right about this sand. I spend a fortune every year on sand because I could go down to the beach and get it, but it lasts about 2 days in our bunkers. I've got a truck in heavy sand, that sand blows. So I'd like to hear more from the actual companies that can do this mining. Where are you gonna start? This is, they said it could go 10, 30 years. Well, it could be a problem for 10, 30 years if it's not done right. If it's done right, I wouldn't have a problem. I made my money in oil, so I don't want to stop the progress. I don't want to hurt the Sheldons. They've been good neighbors. But I'd like to see the company that's actually operating this tell us exactly how they're going to do it, how much they're going to open, how much noise their equipment makes, how they're going to slurry this over. I don't have enough information to even weigh in on it myself.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, anybody else wish to speak on this? Close the hearing. I would point out that we did receive letters on a table tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 against it. They're not supportive of this project. Broderson's, obviously, you have your letter in here as well for the record. And we have what Jason spoke about. So how would you like to proceed with this one?
Is the fellow still on the phone?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, say you're using a kiln and a washer. Where are you locating these at? I mean, are they gonna be completely away from any residential? I'm assuming that's gonna be quite a bit of noise coming there all the time?
Those pieces of equipment, the facility will be north on 110th, south of 53rd, between 53rd and 52nd. And the main processing equipment will be inside a building. So that'll nullify virtually, high percentage of the noise, other than, basically the trucks entering and exiting would be, most of where any noise would come from. The rotary dryer will be in the building, as well as the washing equipment. And what was your other, there's another question, I'm sorry.
It was just the
I thought-
kiln and the washer, and then the other question was, what type of hours are you running on this?
It would be planned as a 24/7 operation, but it's all dependent on demand.
Do you operate any other facilities like this?
Yes, we have a large facility in Vernal, Utah, as well as a second facility in Utah that we operate for an actual oil and gas company, and we have one in Wright, Wyoming, as well as Hazen, just not too far away from Andy that spoke earlier. We're familiar with each other. So all total, we have 4 currently operating. And I'm aware of how sand blows because of our experience with our other facilities.
I had a question on the south end of the orange, where it's gonna be mined. How far of a setback are you planning on having from that 51st Street where them cabins are along the water? How far back to the north? How close are you gonna get to mining from them?
I haven't looked that close at it. I mean, as close as we can, obviously, because there's sand there. If the county sets a buffer, then we have to follow that.
I have a question. Have you walked this site? Have you seen the site, been on the site, put your feet on the ground, checked, looked at it?
Yeah, yeah, we've been out there for exploration and took samples. We've met with Bill and his son-in-law and are, been in communication working with Bill as well as Ken Schmidt, because the facility would be split between Bill and Ken Schmidt's land.
Okay, thank you. Okay, how would you like to proceed on this one? This
Can I add one more thing?
Pardon me?
Can I add one more thing? The one gentleman that spoke, he mentioned some land, I believe it's to the south, he said it couldn't be farmed, it wasn't agricultural. Just based off of what I'm assuming and looking at a map, we're not, I don't think we'll be mining any of that. It doesn't sound like it's even Bill's land. Anything that I currently have in the map for mining is used as agricultural, and not anything that's non-agricultural, or farmable cropland that would be mined.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Barry.
Michelle, do we have a setback for mining to, of any type to residences? I mean, like oil field, there's like I think, is it a 500 or 750 or something back from a occupied residence?
We do not, that I'm aware of, that I've seen. I don't know if Cameron knows of anything. I don't, off the top of my head.
And so most of our setbacks would be dependent on like the zoning use, industrial zoning, whereas this would be a CUP within an ag district. So we don't have any specific setback standards for a mining operation. However, that doesn't, this board could have the ability though to put in standards that would be part of their CUP conditions if they felt that was necessary.
I think you would need certain setbacks on this. This one just appears that it affects a lot of residential
Right, like
families.
the previous one was, there was no residence. I mean, this
Right.
is just right, I mean, it's like right out of the road ditch.
This one's
Michelle, is it appropriate if we were to make a motion that told them they had to take like section 17 out and a third of the bottom third of 18, can we do that, or they have to come back and reapply if it doesn't,
I'm not sure. I don't know.
they would have to
Can I
start.
add can I add a couple more things?
Yeah, go ahead.
The amount of land that would be disturbed at one time, an actual act of mining would likely be around 10 acres, possibly less. And in regards to the gentleman that asked about the equipment, I mean, the best I can give you an example, I mean, what you would see when there's equipment out, when they're putting in new well pads and they're preparing the pad for that, would be similar equipment, your typical excavators and bulldozers, one excavator, possibly two front-end loader, a bulldozer or two, and 2 to 3 haul trucks, probably, not necessarily all running at, one time. There's support equipment. But that, just to give you a visual, if you're driving around, obviously you guys have seen the oil pads being, those pads being excavated and prepared to be something similar to that. Nothing like what you would see on the coal mines that are over around that Beulah area, I guess.
So I got a question for you then, because we had heard something, there was a mention about a slurry and pumping it up to your plant site, or you're trucking it from the mine or from the pit to the plant site?
would be slurried in the pipe under the ground, so we would not have to run trucks up and down 110th. So it'd go up there in the liquid form, obviously, and then the waste material, clay and non-saleable sand would be pumped back, and that would be put back into the mine. Another thing too is in regards to the reclamation, the amount of clay that's taken out of the sand and is going to be concentrated, and when it's put back onto in reclamation, it's likely going to be almost a heavier soil and better, suited, not as dry and sandy for farming. I think Bill's son-in-law, Bill was definitely, expressed his desire to, farm the land when this is done, and we understand that 100%. And we are, been in conversations with Bill, working through those. And honestly, to my knowledge, I thought there was some, the agreements were in place. I don't get directly involved in those negotiations, but anyway, the land would be put back to be farmed again. The only difference that would really be would be the grade would be lowered. So it would be somewhat of a depression, obviously because some of the sand's being removed. So it wouldn't be as flat as original. It would just be lowered down, and they would still be able to use pivots. That would be, just an explanation of the reclamation plan. That can be shown, visually on a map, how it potentially look. But we haven't gone to that extent yet with designing things. Hopefully some of that helps.
So then if we get back to the Brodersons' access easement for their cabin, if that's a recorded easement, I don't believe, that it can't just disappear.
I don't disagree with you there. I guess I didn't think about it, and honestly, in the times that I've been out there exploring, I don't recall Bill bringing that up as an issue, so it's basically new news to me. We'd have to obviously look into that a little bit more. Obviously, it's going to be discussed with Bill.
Well, let's second here. Tracy, do you know like this easement you were talking about that's an access easement for your cabin, correct, or for your home? Yes. It is a recorded easement. Okay. All right. That's just checking.
Okay, you guys have heard a lot on this one. A lot of concerns. You get the letters. What are the wishes of the board? How do you wish to proceed?
So Chairman, I'm going to make a motion to deny. There's just too many families involved here for what I think it is.
Is there a second to that motion?
This
is James.
Cheryl, I'll second.
Will Cheryl second it? Any further discussion?
Would it change your guys' opinions if we had a setback of like, say, 750 feet north of the cabins? I mean, would that be, I was looking for some kind of a middle ground here, right? But, I don't know if that's.
I would say 750 on the 18, but I would like 17 removed. Sorry, I'd like 17 removed, Barry. I think it's going to affect too many people with blowing and.
Well, I think that's something that's gonna have to go back to whomever the applicant is on this, because that changes the whole dynamics economically, I'm guessing.
And that's why I asked Michelle, if we
So-
could make the motion that way. I'd rather deny it and come back.
Yeah, Cameron brought up that conditions and restrictions may be attached to an approval that are intended to minimize any potential adverse impacts on the area. He brought it up from the ordinance itself. So that is something that you could do
So.
Can I just say something in regards to that? I mean,
No, we're done. We're done talking to you. You can just sit there and wait now for the moment. We're in discussion with the board.
Okay, I got it.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't have, the
I'm
section
sorry.
numbers aren't on my map, so it's 17 you were talking about, Mark. That's the,
That's right.
Can you, thanks, Cameron.
Mining operation.
Go straight north of that subdivision, Barry. Then see them other people's houses in 19, so that's why I'd like a buffer. I'm sorry. That's why I'd like a buffer along there, Barry. You see where I'm coming from?
But I think that's a conversation that this applicant can go out and have with these owners, these residences that live out there. We've got a motion to deny and a second. If they wish to proceed from there, they can go that route. I think we need to deal with this one at hand. We can, I mean, if we want to go with amendments, we certainly
okay,
can.
well, so if the motion to deny were to pass, that doesn't mean that they can't go and talk with the neighbors and get something and
Come back.
come back.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yep.
they'll go to the county with it anyway, correct?
Yep, so if if the motion to deny does go through here, it's just a recommendation. It will still be heard at Board of County Commissioners. I believe it's January 7th is that meeting, so they could have those conversations between now and then if they needed to have that information available at that meeting.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Dan? Dan fell off. Sherelle?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Tate?
Yes, motion carries. Next one, Osgood Resource for CUP for another frac sand facility in an agricultural district. This one's in Golden Valley Township. Miss Michelle.
Okay, so the last one we have tonight is LU-0091-24, which is Asgard Resources. They are requesting a conditional use permit to construct and operate a frac sand facility within the agricultural zoning district. This is located in the northeast southwest, Government Lot 1, which is the northwest northwest, the east half of the northeast, and the southeast of the southwest, all of Section 18, Township 157 North, Range 96 West, being Golden Valley Township. This one, like Hoffland Township, is governed by Williams County, so no township comment was solicited. The applicant is requesting the conditional use permit to construct and operate the frac sand facility within the agricultural zoning district. Subject property is comprised of approximately 195 acres total. The site will consist of a wash plant, dry plant, wash sand storage, dry storage, and topsoil stockpiles. It is the intent of the applicant for the mining to start closest to the facility in the southern portion of the parcel and then work to the north. The purpose of the operation, like the others, is to aid in oil field production needs within the area. As per the applicant, they do plan to access the site off of 69th Street Northwest.
Okay, thanks, Miss Michelle. Any questions for her? If not, I'm going to open up the hearing. This is a public hearing. Any public input?
Hello, Doug Purdue. I'm an adjacent landowner, the northeast 1/4, where you can see our farm buildings. That's part of my concern with this, that the sand will be blowing in our direction. The rest of that property is either a small pasture, there are livestock kept there, and the rest of it is hay ground. And as you mentioned, Sherelle, we see the dust attaching to, especially when they were putting the windmills in up in our area, the dust just covered everything. So it blows. 18. Another thing is you can see there, Yep, that's it. As you can see there, this has been surveyed. There's 40 acres cut out of there that my son plans to build on in the future. That's another concern. I had sent you guys a letter. I hope that you got it.
We did.
Has an environmental impact study been done on any of these? Shouldn't it be?
I'm guessing it's probably more like along the same lines of like the scorio pits and that kind of stuff. It doesn't, you know, I don't believe we've ever done that in the past.
Okay, well, I question that. Yeah. No, it's okay, Barry. I just do question that it isn't done, right? There is, the aquifer goes underneath there, which is a major concern. This is a prehistoric lake bed, according to a geologist that I've spoken to. Are there any concerns? Yeah, I do. I'm concerned with what mitigations the mining company will put in place to keep the sand from drifting. It will. Will there be any radioactive materials or chemicals used here? Are there any concerns with the aquifer if there are? Any explosives going to be used? That concerns me with my water wells and the aquifer. Are there any monitoring plans? Are they going to monitor the aquifer and the neighboring wells? Any kind of dust control on the roads? I mean, our roads have been beaten up pretty bad already. Who's going to maintain, who's going to do the work? Is it going to go back on the landowners? I guess that's pretty much what I have that hasn't already been brought up by others concerning this frac sand mining. Anyone have anything for me?
Good for the moment. Yep. We'll keep on moving.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? Yes, sir.
My name's Ryan Purdue. I'm Doug Purdue's son. I'm the one that in the future plan to build my family home there. Just got married a little over a year ago, getting ready to start a family. With that happening, the one gentleman said mining could take 30 years. I mean, that's whole childhood's growing there. I mean, they're breathing in that stuff for their whole, at least 18 years of their lives. I'm the one that has the livestock there. We already fight pneumonia for how dry it's been the last few years. With the increased dust, I mean, 50 milliliters of Draxon's almost $500, and that treats, 10, 12 head. Not only do I plan to build there, you can see the green dot to the north of where they plan on mining. There's also 2 residents there that live there. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I have spoken to them, and they have shown concerns also to the left, or to the west, just directly north of that little jag out. Yeah, where that green dot is to the north side of it. They also have cattle, and that's their only source of income. My cattle provide more than half my income yearly, let alone the hay. I just also sell hay. That, I think it's 110 acres or so that's cuttable there. It's all downwind from it all. Cattle won't eat it. That pasture there, I won't be able to graze. Yeah, that's my concerns. Thank you, guys.
Right. Okay, any public input? Yes, sir.
My name's Ronald Anderson, and I own the land to the south of that, where they're gonna start mining. And, I got a slough right there, and, I think it pretty much runs downhill from his land, so a little concerned about that, and, I'm concerned about the traffic on that, road. And, it doesn't really affect me any, cause I'm west of the thing, but I've talked to some landowners and they said the same thing, but, you know, and it's, like Doug said, road gets beat up pretty good there anyway, so we're always after the county to get it bladed and nothing gets done, so. Anyway.
You are getting beat up bad tonight.
Hope you get paid double tonight.
Yes, sir.
My name is Brad Knox. I'm speaking upon myself and my grandmother. The bottom section of that, we own, or she owns to the right, straight east, farmland. And approximately just straight, that one right there, straight east. And you go to the other green dot to the straight east of where Ryan lives, about a mile and a half. Yep, that's ours as well.
Stop right there. Oh, that way. Too much. Zoomed in too much. Oh, zoom back out. Go the other way. The other out.
East is that way.
I'm gonna quit watching.
Yep, East Ryan, and yeah, and in the works, and that farmyard in the works of buying it as we speak, to build my family, hopefully have kids, do everything, and concerns of everything, what all the other people are there, everything, the roads. What is the proposed route? I know you said the county, but how are they coming off Highway 2 to get there?
You'll have to have them tell us that, 'cause I can't give you an answer.
Okay, because it's the same thing as everyone else says. We got, hopefully, when family comes, they're gonna be driving to school, they're gonna be doing all this, trucks, roads. I mean, kind of grader sits right in the corner there. I think it, you know, that road's probably one of the worst ones around. The grader sits there. And it's just like everyone else's comments and concerns. Hopefully they, whatever you guys come up with is in our best interest, so, thank you.
Have they done any sampling of the sand to even know if it's good enough, Ronald Anderson?
Mr. Anderson, yep.
To even know if it's any good to be doing it?
That's a question the applicant will have to answer. So I'm guessing you guys must be the applicants, so. So we'll have that question here shortly.
Oh, okay.
Ryan Purdue again. I guess I forgot when I was up here. Another concern of mine, just listening here tonight, is the inconsistency between the two companies. That the one that was gonna do the Baker mine and then the Sheldon mine, one said they were gonna mine 40 acres at a time. The other said they were gonna mine 10 acres at a time. What do we believe? Looking at it like that, are they gonna mitigate the sand, the dust? Are they gonna take the safety precautions and extra controls to, I guess, be as neighborly as possible. Yeah, forgot to mention that when I was up here.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Okay, applicant, you guys are here? Why don't you come up and speak and see if you can answer some of those questions?
You guys saved the best for last, didn't you?
There you go.
A lot of those questions would probably already.
Name for the record.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
Stanton Sanders, resident here in Williston. I represent Asgard. A lot of the, I guess, questions are kind of verbatim from the other two, but as far as dust control, which kind of seems to be a kind of a concern for you guys, we are regulated by MSHA. And I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with OSHA, but MSHA is worse. Like they come out and they actually come out and put monitors around our guys. They set them off and get tested. And if we do not follow their guidelines, we get shut down. And that can include making sure that we are watering the roads down in the working area. We obviously don't want to come in and be a bad neighbor to anybody. We understand that no one's getting anywhere if we, act that way. Also, as we talked about in our permit, we'll be removing the topsoil. It's going to be getting, as you see, bermed up on the side of the property. And like we said, we'll be mining down. That's to help mitigate, obviously. The sand, the idea is to sell it and not have it leave the property for free, So we obviously, it's in our best interest, economically, to make sure we're doing the best we can to keep the sand on our property and so that we can turn around and sell it. This location, as far as the concern about the access, it depends where the wells are. I mean, they'll be coming, he can't say off of 2 because they could be coming the north and working their way down, or they could be coming from the south and coming north, but they'd be on the south side of that property there. As far as the amount of sand that's on that property, there is approximately, 2 to 3 million tons is it. So that doesn't put the project in a 15 or 30-year span. It's single-digit years, unless we got lucky and the sand goes deeper than we think. But I'm not going to hold my breath. So I guess there's so many questions. I don't know if there was any I'm missing or anything. Try to beat me up.
Through the hearing, and then if we have more questions or
Sure.
additional, whatever, if we have questions, we'll just have you come back up.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Just a quick question there. How often does MSHA visit any of your other facilities? I know you guys have a few.
Yeah, we have others. It really does vary. We've been every 2 or 3 months to every 6 months to once a year. When you do first start up a mine, you turn in your mine ID. They do an initial inspection where they come in and check everything. That depending on how that inspection goes, they could come back and do a follow-up, maybe do the air monitoring, things like that.
So that's kind of always been a concern of mine with these mines there, with everybody having that concern with dust, is obviously they probably don't have an officer in the area. They're probably coming out of Bismarck or somewhere else, or.
Yeah, like I said, it just depends on them. Like I said, it's been every 3 months to once every 6 months to generally not less than once a year. But yeah, they put monitors on our guys, and and we're washing the ultrafines out with a cyclone with the water, and then it goes into a settling pond, and it's just the ultrafines, right? So the ultrafines is basically anything 140 mesh or finer. That's considered an ultrafine. That gets put in with the water through the closed loop system. So that helps a lot with the ultrafines like you're concerned about, which I'm concerned about. I work out there, I got kids. I want to live for them. And then on top of that, after that, the drying that we talk about, there's a bag house that collects all the dust. And like I said, the biggest thing is, berming around the facility, taking the topsoil and we're gonna berm it because we want to be good neighbors, you know? We don't, no one's got very far in life by upsetting the people they surround themselves with. But yeah, if you got anything else, and I can come back up, absolutely.
Okay, well, if we do, we'll have you come back up.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, last time, any public input? Close the hearing. Comments, wishes of the board, how would you wish to proceed?
Well, I guess I'd like to ask him about a couple of things that Doug brought up, is some explosives or radioactive, or the amount of traffic, the amount of trucks, or?
Yeah, no radioactive materials are used, no explosives. This is very similar to what you would see in a gravel pit, the exact same equipment. Well, I mean, literally, it's the exact same equipment. And it's just an open pit, just like you would a gravel pit.
Do you know how, like, the expected traffic? I mean,
Similar to the other guys. I mean, you could go, I've gone months without selling sand, and then I have a busy week. Depends where the frac fleets are at. If they're close to the area, if they're out down south, then we won't be selling them sand. But it'd be similar to those guys.
I had a question for you. How deep do you figure this is gonna go?
We assume we've done coring down to 25 feet. We did not hit water table, just so you know. It's up on a kind of a slight dome. We wouldn't get into the water table. We just use the dozers. It's just like a gravel pit, you know. You're not going to get down below. There's some sand and there is some gravel in there that we'll probably that we'll be cleaning off and trying to sell as well. But it's mostly consistent of sand. I can stay up.
Anybody else have questions? How you want to proceed with this one?
Well, we get back to that setback from the other residents, obviously. I don't know if that's something we can discuss amongst us, I guess, but, you know, if 750 feet, if you live in town, that's way down the road. When you live out in the country, it's just right there, you know, so, it's just something to
Something to think about.
Yes.
Yeah, in town, it's 2 blocks, roughly, 300, 350 a block. Yeah, that's where you. You know, so, and that's something I think, you know, if we're gonna be getting into this and you're gonna see more of these type of businesses coming to this region, I think it's something obviously we need to take a hard look at and how to work with it.
How much of a demand is there for this supply? I mean, is there be more of these popping up, like you mentioned, or is vegan just gonna make and ensure that no one makes any money at it, or, you know what I mean? If you,
I think you're gonna see more. This is one of the few areas you can get this kind of sand. I mean, you have it in Wisconsin. You know, it's not like every section has this type of soil, this type of,
you know, well, the one fellow was talking about, you know, it may take 30 years to mine out that one site. Well, you know, gee whiz, you know, if the 2 previous ones each takes 30 years, that seems to me like an awful lot, but I don't know how much they use either. I mean, I don't know what it takes to, you know.
I don't either. I'm not.
Take a mile square, 20-foot deep, that's a pile of material. That was my thought. If you got 3 of them in 1 month, I can't believe that there's not more coming.
And as the wells spread out, they're only gonna drive so far to get this stuff. They're gonna go to the closest place, the oil companies.
I'm sure that what they can, if they can do it locally, it's going to be cheaper for the oil companies than to buy it from China or from what's coming in from out of state.
Right, I believe it comes in off, you know, rail right now.
Rail rate.
You know, so, yeah.
All right, how do you want to proceed, guys? Anybody wish to proceed?
Tate, if I may make a comment?
Yes, you are on. Hi, Dan. Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I've been listening all along, but apparently you couldn't hear me. But with 3 of these at one meeting, it almost seems like the county needs to take a step back and come up with a set of criteria for all of these. Because I think you're going to see more coming too. The industry realizes they don't have to ship sand from Wisconsin. They're going to be looking all over the county for more of this type of material.
Dan, I was just thinking about the same thing. You know, back in the day, we used to start doing ad hoc committee when we run into situations like this. You know, there's no reason we don't go back to some of that. I mean, we're seeing stuff that none of us have ever seen before in our life. Maybe we need to set a committee up and just put some criteria together for these.
Yeah, much like the county did with the data centers. Put some thought into how we want to handle these and what criteria that we want to have on every one of them.
Well, we should, because there's so many people affected by them. I mean, I understand the business side, but you got to look at the personal side of it too. If you were living out there, would you want it next to you, I guess, is what I always look at.
Exactly.
Not being rude, but-
I could ask
Hey,
Doug a question.
You can ask Doug, go ahead, ask Doug the question. What the hell's another, we've been here for 3.5 hours, what the heck? Go ahead, Doug.
What's on your mind?
And I think that just makes it helps the reasoning why, like what Dan just said and Mark and
That's why we're suddenly seeing so many.
Yeah.
Is
so I
people
think-
just figured out there's sand here.
Yeah, so there's some merit to that.
And if you go down on the river bottoms, there's a lot of sand for miles and miles.
Okay, we have to deal with this at the moment. How do you guys want to proceed? Anyone? Bueller?
I'm getting hungry. I'll make a motion to deny.
Is there a second?
Yes.
We have a motion to deny and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
And that will give them an opportunity to speak with the neighbors and come up with.
Yes. I do, that's,
I come up with some middle ground anyway, or something like that,
yeah,
something
because
that
I don't think anybody's been in here saying they're dead set against it. It's just, there's got to be a compromise of some sort with the neighbors and the operators. And I'd like to think something could be worked out. I don't know that, but that's a conversation you guys can all have.
And something, we need to come up with a better plan than saying you're going to test for dust every 3 months or something like that. Because the issue isn't just the sand dust, it's the dust. Just the topsoil dust. That can be really detrimental in your pastures and to your livestock. And somehow there needs to be some thought of how you're going to watch that. And then the other issue is when they talk about putting up berms for the topsoil, when they did that highway construction out by me, they took the topsoil and put up berms. It proceeded to grow 4-foot-high weeds that now are blowing all over. And so that's an issue that somebody needs to think about too.
So this goes. Okay, roll call, please.
Sherelle,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and Tate.
Yes, motion carries. That's it for the public hearings. Old business none, discussion items, reorganization of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Chairman and Vice Chair. What are the wishes of the board? How do you want to do that?
I'd make a motion to leave it the way it is, if that's good with the officers.
Is there a second to that motion?
Yes.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next meeting is to be determined. You guys have a Merry Christmas, safe travels, and thanks for all the work, staff. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Michelle, do you want to set up an ad?